What's going on? 10 o'clock, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Buccaneers have signed head coach Todd Bowles and general manager Jason Licht to a multi-year contract extension.
Light. That's light.
Light. Thank you. Bowles now enters his fourth year as the Bucs head coach after leading the team to 3 consecutive NFC South titles from 22 to 24. Light is currently the NFL's 5th longest tenured traditional general manager, entering his 12th season as the team's general manager. I'm going to skip over this Browns headlight because I know that I'm going to say Obo Okoronkwo. Okoronkwo played his last 2 seasons in Cleveland on a 3-year, $19 million deal, accumulating 7.5 sacks over that time. He is not subjected to waivers as a vested veteran and is free to sign wherever and whenever he pleases. Last night was the NBA Draft's first round. You saw Cooper Flagg get selected number 1 overall by the Dallas Mavericks. This marks the first time in history that the ACC had the number 1 overall player selected in both the NBA and the NFL draft in the same year. The only other time a conference managed to have both number 1 overall picks came in 2005 when the Mountain West Conference saw Utah's Alex Smith go first in the NFL draft and Andrew Bogut being taken number 1 overall by Utah. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5. We'll stay here for an hour because that light stuff.
The Zone. I mean, Jesus, could you have made that any harder on yourself?
It could have been harder if you would have kept talking.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you. It's just Robert and me again today. Lucas is back this afternoon, but we decided to give the little guy some nap time, given that he had a 6 a.m. flight from a fantastic finish for Nashville SC, 3-2 over the New England Revolution. A great comeback. I saw the Nashville SC Twitter account putting out photoshopped videos of their image on Logan Ryan's body intercepting Tom Brady with the New England Revolution logo over his head, as was the case in the 2019 wild card round. That was a really cool result to see last night from Nashville SC. I know Lucas had a great time calling it. He'll be back tomorrow with us. He's hosting for Zach today?
Correct. He'll be hosting with Blaine on Cover 2.
All right, so you can hear him right after that. You can get his full reaction to that 12th unbeaten result for Nashville SC. That's crazy.
So, Licht versus Light.
No, it's you.
Okay, if it's L-I-C-H-T.
Why are you so defensive? Because you know you screwed up.
I did mess up.
Okay.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is American phonetics and how we spell things, because that looks like Licht, like Liechtenstein. It does not look like Light.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, you didn't have to call me out in front of everybody. You know I'm extra stressed this morning. I was super...
No, you're just jittery. This is the problem. This is the first time that I've actually needed to have Lucas back, just to have a buffer between you and me, because you hopped up on 17 cigarettes that you smoked before 10 a.m. And what kind of Monster did you drink this morning? Why are you drinking Monster?
I woke up and I was tired as hell. I don't know how to tell you this, dude.
From what?
This week has been a week from hell for me. Hackers tried to gain access to my bank account. They were successful against my mother. My mother's been making that my problem, even though my accounts have been fine.
God forbid.
My upstairs AC unit has blown out. It is perennially 85 degrees where I sleep and do my work at home.
I can't think of a worse human being to have in a home where the AC goes out than you.
It smells fantastic. And we're just humming along here in summer radio, dude. So I'm
shotgunned a Monster to get yourself through it.
I just don't drink energy drinks. So last week I had a Celsius and I thought I was going to die before the show. This week I feel more
Those things
like
make my hand shake. I can't drink them.
I'm literally back here like you would not want me to perform surgery. In most cases.
There's a great many reasons I wouldn't want you to perform surgery.
I'm worried that I feel this good right now, but in about 30 minutes I will crash.
No, you're done for.
So you should enjoy my energy, my effervescence of positivity while you have it.
And God.
That's how I feel this morning.
I don't.
We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about the NBA draft. And then we're going to talk about sports. So jittery, I can't even hit the space bar correctly.
Is it buffering? You can't be trusted with these sounds back there because at any given moment you're going to interrupt me with a Howard Dean scream, and I can't take that. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be hovering. You're going to have us both living in fear of that sound at any given moment to cut us off.
I wish you had a guest today.
I noticed that you did that during the Louis Riddick interview. Did you drop a mama clip into the middle of that interview? What are you doing back there? You busted your ass for 2 weeks to book that interview, and then all of a sudden you're going to start playing sound drops in the middle of them to try and confuse the guests?
It wasn't a sound drop. It was right when he had said, are you guys there? And I had my mic super low and just went, I can't help it.
I can't take you anywhere. The NBA draft was last night, as you all saw. The worst kept secret in basketball was Cooper Flagg to the Dallas Mavericks. Do you see Nico Harrison getting a little cheeky about it afterwards? Just kind of feeling himself a little bit.
Oh, I missed that.
Sir, what are you doing? He gave some comments in the post-draft process, just basically to the effect like, we're going to be all right. We're going to be fine. I'm paraphrasing here. But I just don't know that Nico Harrison should be comfortable at this point in time sticking his chest out a little bit because the NBA may or may not have rigged the lottery draft so that Dallas, who made one of the stupidest trades in sports I've ever seen in my lifetime to ensure that they could land a player who I don't know what Cooper Flagg's ceiling is going to be in the NBA. These things are, I think, difficult to determine. He could be a great player on bad teams. He could be an average player on a solid team. We'll see what happens in Dallas. Kyrie Irving re-signing there is also interesting. We didn't talk about that yesterday, but the quote from Nico Harrison to the reporters after they drafted Cooper Flagg is, "Fortune favors the bold. So exciting, things fell our way." Sir.
Who do you think you are, Indiana Jones?
I mean, just get the bleep out of here. Because you screwed up and the NBA bailed you out. Reckless speculation on my part, but come on. Beyond that, thank you. That's what that fire alarm's going to say. I'm already.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'm so excited.
It's tomorrow when Lucas is back. I'm already in a bad mood about that.
Well, Titans
2 days in advance.
Titans fans should be in a better mood because Cam Ward is not the only first overall pick that has been disparaged on their draft night coverage. Did you see Cooper Flagg? Oh, famously, this is Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall pick, and it shows his nameplate at the bottom, and they're showing Ace Bailey, who ended up being selected 5th overall by the Utah Jazz.
Who didn't want to go to the Utah Jazz, who famously told the Utah Jazz to not draft him. His
agent was like, he does not want to be around any Mormons. You better let him fall in the draft. And they were like, nah, come on down to the Salty Lake, buddy.
He is, Ace Bailey out of Rutgers is being represented by somebody who's not overwhelmingly experienced. And I'm just reading up on this coming into yesterday's draft, just kind of understanding, all right, who are the principal parties here? What would be an upset? Who can stand to make the most noise in the NBA draft? I follow college basketball. I check out on the draft process and kind of team needs stuff when the NBA playoffs are going on because, the basketball was way more engaging this year, and I'm not really interested in NBA mock drafts at this point in my life. So to kind of check in on things that were going on, Ace Bailey's representation situation has been interesting. I don't think it's been I don't think it's put teams at ease in the pre-draft process, and then for him to get drafted by a team that he publicly was saying that he didn't want to go to just adds an extra layer of intrigue to this. Beyond that, there weren't many other highlights. Dylan Harper went 2nd to the Spurs. VJ Edgecombe went 3rd to the 76ers, and the best, is it a good name, Con Knipple? Or is it just a funny name?
I think it's
Because that's not going to come up like Smoke Monday is a great football name.
Knippled with the fact that he is painfully white. I think that it is a better name. I have loved the memes coming out.
Also, he's
today.
got a soul patch.
I love that. We call those flavor savers around here. Could you read who the Blazers selected at 11?
The Blazers selected at 11. I've got the Grizzlies at 11.
Oh, okay. Who'd the Blazers take?
You're going to make me scroll here, and this is not good radio.
Okay, either way. Did you know that famous radio host Colin Cowherd?
No, that's who the Grizzlies drafted.
Oh, okay. Well, not so fast.
So the Portland Trailblazers select Colin Cowherd here. This is a young man with the ultimate bet on yourself story.
Yes, his name is Cedric.
That's the first broadcasting mistake Malika Andrews has ever made in her life.
I'm not here to
nice.
dog my baby. No. It's okay. She can make all the mistakes she wants. I just think it's funny. Colin Cowherd, yes.
Cedric Cowherd and Colin Cowherd. I mean, I guess I get it. But yeah, it's a solid pickup for the Grizz. In reading some of the scouting reports on him, it sounds like he's going to be a good fit, and they have a lot of expectations in Memphis given the draft capital that they were able to pick up in those trades.
How long has the NBA draft been? 2 days?
That's pretty recent, I feel like.
Because as soon as I was like, oh, who'd they take in the second round? And I have to realize that we have to go watch the most irrelevant part of the draft again. That's dumb.
Well, you don't have to do it. Are we really going to cover the second round of the NBA draft like that?
I just want to know who the Raptors are taking. That's all.
Explain to people again why you're a Raptors fan.
Vince Carter in those old Dino unis. Come on, man. That's cold.
All right, so what is this conspiracy theory? Why are you trying to agitate Titans fans by comparing Cam Ward's draft night to Cooper Flagg's?
Because they were part of history together, as I mentioned in my sports update, that it marks the first time the ACC has had a player selected number 1 overall in the NFL and the NBA draft.
I didn't hear that through all the mistakes.
And both of the leagues disrespected them. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the ACC being a bottom league. Put some respect on their name. That's your quarterback, Buck.
Oh my God!
You need to have a little bit of respect in your voice for your quarterback, a man who is going to single-handedly pull you out of the doldrums of Titans conundrums and put you on the front page of the AFC South. You put some respect on his name.
Why would you back me into that corner that way when you know that is such a well? That's why you did it. It's such a losing position.
Why would they give him? I'm doing my Brian Windhurst fingers right now. Why would they give him a 6-part documentary if he was going to fail, Buck? Answer, they wouldn't.
I'm going to start doing that to you. He's your quarterback.
Yeah. Hold on now. Don't be signing me up. Sign me up for Malika Andrews. Don't sign me up for that.
Leave her out of this entirely. I'm sure the last place that she...
That's fine.
I just imagine you sleep eating a raw sweet potato in 85-degree heat at your house because your AC doesn't work. Just thinking about Malika Andrews.
I'll pivot to Taylor Rooks.
Very generous of you. 615-737-1045 is the number. Pro Football Focus took a hatchet to the Titans. I'll tell you how coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. It's the best hot chicken in the world. You knew that. 615-737-1045 is the number. All right. If I asked you generally out there listening in your car, your home, if you're streaming us in the office, wherever you're listening today, not you, Liam Neeson. Who do you think Liam Neeson has NFL allegiances for? He's Irish? Is this like Seamus? Are all of the Irish now co-opted to be Titans fans because the Titans are finally marketing internationally in Ireland? Oh, okay. Sorry. If I asked you, heading into this NFL season, how you might stack up one roster next to another, now that we've gone through free agency, been through the draft, got the UDFAs signed, sealed, delivered, training camp rosters are basically ready to roll. So you have the opportunity. Now, there can be some churn, right? There's still some names out there on the free agent market that have yet to find landing spots. Amari Cooper and Zadarius Smith are probably two of the bigger ones that keep coming up. And there will be guys that get cut for a variety of different reasons, roster math, finances, that can end up in other places that will make a difference in 2025. But just where we sit right now, understanding that the Titans roster, year over year, it almost has to be better than it was last year. And I feel like I've had some version of this conversation with you guys before about the idea that I don't think it was that bad in 2024. I just think they nuked themselves on a couple of different fronts that made the experience feel so much worse than it should have. And the Levis turnover situation is a huge part of that, but it's not exclusively about that. There's a great many things, as you well know, that went wrong with that football team last year that made, a team that probably could have messed around and won 5 or 6 games, I think at minimum, ended up being a 3-win football team and picking number 1 overall. They almost have to progress to the mean in a couple of these categories just because they have no other choice. It almost cannot get worse, and I hesitate to say that because every time I have, they have gotten worse. But right now, they've bottomed out. And they've changed the quarterback. And theoretically, even if the quarterback has all the hurdles and adversity that a rookie quarterback would normally have to deal with, all the different struggles, will probably turn it over in big spots, will probably make mental errors, working behind a first or a new look offensive line unit that's probably going to take about a month to get itself to be high functioning together. They still have to kind of progress to the meet. So I feel like everybody's coming into this season, if you pay close attention to the Titans, as the vast majority of you do, with a general understanding that this year's team, should be better than last year's team. Pro Football Focus is taking a hatchet to that idea in their roster rankings for 2025. Strengths, weaknesses, and X factors for every starting lineup. Now, Robert didn't hear me when I told him where the Titans were ranked because he immediately just started clapping his hands together like one of those little wind-up monkey toys with the cymbals and squealed into the microphone, what?
I prefer a seal. How seals are very happy when they get a fish.
You do resemble a not a sea lion. Those are too spelt.
Probably a walrus, like an elephant seal.
Elephant seal.
The ones with the big
going.
honking noses.
Yeah.
I was tickled that the Ravens were too.
The Philadelphia Eagles are 1, understandably so, which, by the way, I think is a bit of a stretch. Philly's in a weird spot this year, and I'm going to tell you where the Titans are ranked here in a second. But if I just ask you to guess 1 to 32, where you thought Pro Football Focus had the Titans' talent profile in 2025, year over year, where would you guess? 615-737-1045 is the number. The F&M Bank chat also available for you guys to jump in.
I assume this is off PFF scores. They're probably going off of their own rankings of these players and then stacking them up roster-wise, I would assume. So,
well, I can read you the parameters here.
Okay, cool.
what they're saying is that they generally look at a couple of different factors here, where they're factoring in their overall grade specific to each side of the ball. They'll look at their coverage grade, their pass rush grade, year over year, understanding what their strengths were last year and how that marries up with the personnel changes that they've made each team in 2025. So, like, if I asked you the biggest strength for the Philadelphia Eagles last year, you would have said what?
The defense.
You would have said the defense. The defense between the pass rush being overwhelming, the secondary being excellent, the amount of mistakes that they caused quarterbacks to make, the amount of times that they were getting pressure beyond just getting the sacks.
You can't really run on them when you're up.
Yeah, they are a highly effective defensive unit. Now, they lost Milton Williams to the Patriots. They traded away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to, I think he's a Texan, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's wandering around in Houston's secondary right now. It is a couple of different things that the Eagles are losing, understanding that they still have the core of their team that makes them a Super Bowl champion. They still have a high-level offense. Their passing game wasn't as good as people probably would imagine it would be, given who they have at their disposal in 2024.
Super slow starting team. Like, that was the message over the entire regular season, is that in the first half, they didn't do diddly. But in the second half, they could explode, catch up, surmount a large lead. But starting games, they were very slow.
They also lost Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham on the defense, along with Milton Williams. Those guys are not inconsequential. And they were very defensive heavy in the draft. I think this is like, Philly is doing the thing that I think smart football teams do, and Howie Roseman is the best general manager in football right now. He's taken a beat, understanding they just won the championship. He gets a little bit of grace here. He can stockpile players at positions like Jahad Campbell is a bit of a luxury pick for them. But it's a player that's probably going to be good when they're ready to compete at the highest levels again. They're down cycling, but the Eagles will still be competitive. They'll still give the Commanders a run for their money in the NFC East this year. I'm pretty confident. I think the Giants could cause people problems on defense, but the question is, will they be able to move the ball at all? That's a huge unknown here. And Dallas, I don't know. Dallas just feels in this weird purgatory that I'm not sure what to do with them. But I just don't think that you can assume that the talent profile of the Eagles, because they were the best roster last year, they lost a bunch of pieces and parts. Those are not easily replaced players. Even if like Milton Williams and Josh Sweat don't go on to have the same level of success that they did in Philadelphia because they're more talented, but they're playing on worse rosters at this point in time. The Ravens are 2. The top 5 is the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Buffalo Bills. Have you looked at this list?
Not extensively.
Do you know where the Titans are ranked?
I don't know where they're ranked.
Take a guess. Based on what you know about their roster year over year, 1 to 32, where would Pro Football Focus stack the Tennessee Titans?
I don't think they're the worst, but I would probably say they're 30th. 30th, 29th, somewhere in there.
They are 31st.
Woof. But it makes sense because of the high-level players, right? Like, you could argue the Giants may have had...
The Giants have more impact players on the roster.
100%.
The Titans do not have a Malik Neighbors. They don't have a Dexter Lawrence.
Or any of the pass rushers that they've accumulated. The Brian Burns, any of those names. There are a lot of names on the Giants, and that's why I thought they may be higher. They're probably... Is the worst team the Browns?
Yes. The Giants are 27th, which I thought was pretty generous because they're above the Jets, the Panthers...
the Saints, got to be the
Saints, and then Tennessee and Cleveland.
That makes sense. It stinks, but that's just where you're at right now. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about this all the time, that you can't fix everything. You can't just have the Commanders' year as an anomaly to go from something like that. Or worst to first is an anomaly, but to have that kind of jump is, like, you would expect them to slowly piece their way up this chart over the years.
That's been their whole marching point, right? Or the marching orders. Patience over panic is what the Titans have continued to repeat. And that would mean that, yeah, they understand they are in a part of their roster building process where it's probably not going to be viewed that favorably. They don't have star power on that football team yet. Cam Ward may end up being a star. We have no idea how to answer that question yet. He's a number 1 overall pick at quarterback. Everything that you hear about him means that he's going to be the right kind of person to lead this experiment, but it is still in the experimental phases. And you can't just assume in a team sport, in the ultimate team sport, the way that the NFL is, that he's going to be able to elevate so much in just his first year. But this is what Pro Football Focus ranks or writes of the 31st ranked roster, the Tennessee Titans. Their biggest strength in 2024 was considered their run defense. They did not do anything really at an above average level last year, but that was the only place where they graded out at an above average level. 72.2 is their team run defense grade, which would have stacked up 9th in the NFL, and their successful run rate allowed was 33.7%, which ranked 8th. Jeff Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, all three of them back as healthy as they've been, understandably so. Jeff operating at about 20 pounds lighter. They've brought in some different types of bodies on the edge in Draymond Jones, who next to Arden Key, they hardly look like they play the same position. Now, Draymond Jones is also, deployed in a couple of different ways in Seattle. Sounds like those weren't to his benefit. They're going to keep him primarily at the edge, though they'll have different packages and they'll run different stunts and twists and things like that to try and take advantage of matchups that way. But you are getting heavier, adding Femi Oladejo in the second round out of UCLA and Draymond Jones in free agency to just kind of anchor you on the edge beyond you just being super heavy in the middle, super solid in the middle. And Jeff, even when he's hurt, he's operating at a high level in run defense.
What was their weakness?
Their biggest weakness was throwing the football.
Nailed it. Kind of a big component.
You are going to abuse that so much.
That's tough. That's tough.
Do you know where they ranked among 32 teams last year in terms of their passing grade?
I would say 32.
Last. They were the worst passing team in terms of their effectiveness, not statistics, not counting stats, but the counting stats weren't favorable either.
Which takes into turnovers and sacks given up, all that good stuff.
They finished dead last in the team Pro Football Focus passing grade with a 57.0 flat. What they write is the Will Levis experiment ultimately proved to be a failure, and the Titans decided to hit the reset button by selecting Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, which we all know. Now, Cam Ward is going to be the thing to watch here because the passing game will go as Cam Ward goes. Really, the passing game, though, I almost hesitate to say that. Yeah, he's the quarterback. Yeah, he's responsible for making the throws, executing the plays, getting the guys in and out of the huddle, operating the football team. Of course, he's the most important player. But I almost hesitate to say that the passing game goes as Cam Ward goes because the passing game goes as that offensive line goes. The Titans' offense goes as that offensive line goes. That's the most important thing, the most important course correction, and arguably the thing that has the potential to have the biggest impact right away. Year over year, especially what they've been. They assign an X factor for each of these teams. Who was the Ravens? Did you look?
I did not look.
I would assume it would be Derrick Henry.
X factor, I think, of what they're saying is like this will be the player that either breaks or makes the team.
Okay.
So like he had the highest variability. For the Ravens, it's Andrew Voorhees, who is if you guys remember your big draft nicks, you'll remember that Andrew Voorhees tore his ACL at the Combine, went and still did the bench press. The Ravens were able to NFI him. So technically he was drafted. This could be his third season, but technically this is his second season because he was NFI'd.
For the Titans, it's Dan Moore for basically that same reason. That was their biggest wave. I mean, I guess drafting Cam Ward is the biggest wave that they made this offseason, but in terms of free agent acquisitions, that was one of the biggest contracts that any team handed out. 4 years, $82 million to be the starting left tackle, and you get a starting right tackle out of J.C. Latham. So we've talked about this a bunch of times in March. 2 birds, 1 stone. In theory, to field a professional offensive line unit, that is something that they are going to have to bank on because the thing that Levis undermined them basically at every turn last year. but the offensive line situation is 1B if Will Levis is 1A. And you could blame the offensive line situation for kneecapping them for basically the last 3 seasons in their inability to get it right. From Dennis Daly to Andre Dillard to trying JC out, but NPF being a nightmare. They could not have gotten rid of a player faster than they did Nicholas Petit-Frere. The league, by the way. I assume he hasn't gotten picked back up since he got waived by the Niners.
I have not seen anything, but I will give you guys a piece of positivity with this. James Foster of No Flags Films, once this show and the rest of the Zone shows are over, throw it in your Watch Later category on YouTube, did an incredible breakdown on J.C. Latham and why Titans fans should be excited about him on the right side. So it should be a night and day difference.
Isn't it like an hour long?
48 minutes of breakdown. He does an exceptional job throwing graphics on the screen. It's really well done. If you want to feel good about your tackle situation, James Foster, No Flags Film, did an incredible breakdown. Another piece of positivity. Cam Ward's...
No, wait, I thought I had to do that at 11:45. I don't want to do that earlier than that.
This is just a tiny piece for this. Cam Ward's PFF grade for his last college season, 92.9. If, and I understand this is apples to oranges, if he was able to achieve that score again in the NFL, he would rank 3rd in the league behind Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So there's a little feather.
Hey,
don't be talking about the Savior like that. Don't be talking about...
I'm not doing the Savior thing with Cam. No matter how many times the two of you try to make me uncomfortable with this, I'm not doing it.
You're not going to disparage him.
I'm not going to disparage him, no, but I'm not going to do savior of the franchise before the guy takes part in a training camp practice.
Let's watch the Tubi documentary first before you make your...
I won't. It's in September.
You have to watch it. You're going to be on flights.
I'm going to be watching football games that he's playing.
You'll have things to do.
They screwed that up so many different ways. The idea that put it out now.
And make us watch it.
We're forced to watch. We have nothing else to talk about. Put that godforsaken Tubi thing out now instead of in September when he's playing actual football games. Nobody's going to care.
I would be forced to watch that instead of Poop Cruise on Netflix. Have you seen that?
Why does my algorithm keep recommending that? That's the least me thing to watch ever.
Well, it's not like you would go on a cruise anyway.
Ever in my life. So that sounds like hell.
So if I could use your phrase, why wouldn't you watch it and laugh at the pores? It is insane.
I don't say laugh at the pores.
You do say laugh at the pores. Speaking of the pores, tonight, Split happens. You can come, hang out, bowl, do some stuff with Buck Rising.
What is that transition?
I don't know. Home Street Home.
Oh, my God.
It goes to benefit Home Street Home.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Get on Shadows.
Yeah. No,
I don't need
I
don't need you for the rest of this segment.
No.
Take your ass to the Shadows now.
I'm going bowling.
God. Just exhausting. Yeah, the bowling event is tonight. You need to be there. King's Bowl, King's Dining and Entertainment in Franklin is what is going down tonight. You can hang out, food, drinks, prizes, more, all to help benefit Home Street Home. We've talked to you about this amazing organization. Keep your microphone off, or so help me God. I'll come back into that. What?
We'll be there bowling.
What?
I'm in the shadows. You have to bring me back.
I can't hear you. This is terrible radio. What are you saying?
You'll be there bowling.
King's Bowl, King's Dining and Entertainment tonight. 1045thezone.com is where you go to RSVP. Admission is free. We would ask you to think about the less fortunate in this situation. We will have QR codes available all over the place at King's Bowl for you guys to donate to Home Street Home, an awesome organization that's out here in the heat, helping the unhoused community just make it through, helping them get back on their feet, helping them rehabilitate their lives. Stephen Young, Miss Andy, they do awesome work, the rest of the team. Home Street Home is available to you. You can go on their website. You can find them on Venmo. If you're not able to make it tonight, it would be greatly appreciated to help us make a difference for them, because they're actually making a difference in the community. Yeah, somebody in the comment section says, seamless transition by Robert. I mean, you are just an anchor. We should probably do the moment of positivity next before I blow off some steam in the studio. Anyway, Chaz Laneir, Cooper Flagg. We're going to talk about him with day 2 of the NBA draft on tap. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Best hot chicken in the world. S. on YouTube, where you can interact with the show, says, why would I put Chaz Laneir and Cooper Flagg in the same sentence? Because we're going to talk about both of them here. Cooper Flagg obviously went with the number 1 overall pick to the Dallas Mavericks last night, day 2 of the NBA draft, and Chaz Laneir is still out there. He is projected by ESPN to be the 7th player selected in the second round tonight, which would land him on the Detroit Pistons, who made the playoffs this year, looked like they were going to be able to find a way to fight through that Knicks series, but ultimately came up short. New York able to advance. They are, there's a couple of different things about Chaz Laneir that make it interesting here, given that he is, I mean, when you think about basketball players, especially in the transfer portal era, he kind of defines late bloomer to me. 3.7 points per game is what he averaged over his first 3 college seasons at North Florida. Last season, he averaged 18.0 points per game, shooting 43.1% on his field goals, 39.5% from 3. He was a great scoring option. Tennessee managed a couple of different situations where he went through shooting slumps, but I thought that this year he really made a case for himself to be an NBA basketball player. I think he's got potential, even though he's had a later come up in this kind of situation. Now, there are questions, according to Jonathan Gavoni, who does a lot of the NBA draft analysis for ESPN. They still have a lot of questions in the NBA about his game. Quote, Laneir is a dangerous movement shooter with solid physical tools. He has proved himself as a prolific shot maker in the SEC after he transferred from North Florida to Tennessee. He has questions to answer with his feel for the game, passing and defensive prowess after struggling to impact games when his outside shots weren't falling, which is fair. He just needs to be more of a complete player if he's going to have a legit NBA career. So we'll see what happens with Chaz Laneir tonight, but always good for the Vols to have another NBA player, whether he ends up in the NBA or if he has to do a G League stint, whatever the case may be. We'll see what becomes of Chaz Laneir later tonight in round 2. Another interesting thing about the Cooper Flagg experience coming off the NBA draft, LeBron James is a billionaire athlete. So we have billionaire athletes. Michael Jordan is a billionaire athlete, former athlete, even though, that's obviously a more long-standing type of situation. They are billionaires, though, not just because of their contractual earnings, but because of their endorsement deals. They have huge business interests. So it has taken a variety of different income sources for them to achieve the billionaire status as athletes. Spotrac has a projection on Cooper Flagg that he could make close to $1 billion in the NBA alone by the time he reaches age 32, just projecting if he was to stay with the Dallas Mavericks, projecting his career earnings. His rookie deal is valued at $62 million. His future Supermax at 30% would be $359 million. His second Supermax after that, at 35%, should he still be in Dallas, would be $509 million. So in NBA contracts alone, Cooper Flagg has the potential to be the first billionaire contract athlete in his pro sport. And that's not even, there were some crazy numbers out there about him at at Duke last year as far as what he was making, somewhere ballpark 13 mil. Robert, I don't know how closely you paid attention to stuff like that. There is a lot to be said about the experience that NIL will give guys as far as what it is to manage this money. It's always, a pretty fast rise when you're an NBA athlete, a lot of them coming in at 18, 19, sometimes 20 once you get up there for guys who have been in college basketball. But if you're good enough in college basketball to be drafted in the NBA, a lot of times you're going one and done. It's a really, really interesting case study for Cooper Flagg, who is so young. I think he's like the second or third. Cooper Flagg is the youngest prospect in this draft class. for him to have reclassified, handled his business at Duke the way that he did, potentially projected as a billionaire athlete in the NBA by the time his career, starts to get close to done. 32 years old, he can continue to play basketball, so he could theoretically reach that. But
he doesn't turn 19 until December.
It's crazy.
What were you doing at 18? Guy, you're in Indiana. You were probably...
I was a senior in college. No.
At 18?
No. I got it mixed up. So I would have been...
in high school?
No, I would have been a sophomore in college.
What?
I'm young, yeah, for my grade classification.
Oh, okay. See, I went to school a year late. So when I was 18... When I was 18, I was a senior in high school. Probably drunk in a field somewhere.
I guess I would have been 18 heading into my sophomore year. Summer between freshman and sophomore year.
So it made more sense for you to get a fake ID when you got to college.
My fake ID said I was 5'9", 140. I haven't been that since like third grade.
What? Did they not read them? They used to make us recite the addresses on them if you used a fake, which I never did.
Not, and nor should anybody ever.
No, because that's
illegal.
And deplorable.
Yes. Well, just some people might lean into that.
I feel like Adam Sandler in, what's the movie where he had to go back to school? Stay here as long as you can.
My fake ID, the only time I ever got a fake ID, and you should never do this because, again, it's illegal, but we were coming down to Nashville for CMA Fest for the first time. I'd never been to Nashville. And they said, well, if you get a fake ID, you might be able to get into some of the bars on Broadway. And that was before there were, bars that were heavily fortified and you couldn't just like crawl through the window. It was like the first trip I took down here. And it was insane. And nobody even bothered to look at my 5'9", 140-pound fake ID. His name was John Beckman. Shout out John Beckman. Appreciate you. Anyway, for the NBA draft, I don't know. You are interested in who the Raptors are going to draft. It was curious to me to see what the Celtics were doing in the last couple of days because trading Drew Holiday away, trading Kristaps Porzingis away, both quality players who were important to what they were able to do, but, have their own drawbacks, whether it be contract or just health situation with Porzingis. That's been a problem for him across his entire career. Celtics are blowing it up, though. Jason Tatum with an Achilles tear, one of three star players in these NBA playoffs between Dame Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and I'm blanking on his name. I just said it. The Celtics player.
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum. Oh, my God. Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, and Damian Lillard. All three tore their Achilles. Three teams in a different space of their career, or rather three teams in a different space of their competitive window. Cleveland, who was the best team in the East this past season, dealing with injuries prior to the playoffs, they're probably looking around and thinking, why would we change anything? Everybody else is falling apart around us. We could probably run this thing back and get there. Health is not something that you can count on, but still. Boston, in their competitive window, seems to be starting to tear the thing down, understanding that Tatum is not going to be ready for it, probably a calendar year. Indiana's in a different kind of spot as far as their roster construction goes. And I don't know if you caught these comments from the owner of the Denver Nuggets talking about injuries making them get into this second apron clause in the NBA where they have different kind of contractual limitations and salary cap limitations should they exceed the cap. It's a hard cap in the NBA. It just doesn't feel as hard as the cap is in the NFL. But talking about like doing things like trading Jokic, injuries forcing your hand and making you have to trade number 15 is essentially what he was talking about. And he brought that up unprompted, which is the way that I guess you have to think about these things at the end of the day, especially when your roster construction is so dependent on just a few players giving you that edge to be able to win a championship. You can't do that in the NFL. You have to have a more complete roster construction, and you have to also bank on health. For Boston, this is the thing that scares you if you're a Celtics fan or a Pacers fan or anybody else who's dealing with critical injuries in the playoffs, is this thing is probably going to set you back not 1 year but two. So does it make sense to do the tear down now, just take your lumps, and go through a bad season where your coach, Joe Mazzulla, is probably getting fired anyway? I mean, I thought he should have been fired after the way that they went out in the playoffs prior to the Tatum Achilles tear. 615-737-1045 is the number. SDOT points out that they cleared $140 million in cap, which takes them out of the second apron, and that is the thing that the teams are trying to avoid. We will get into Nate Tice's top 10 quarterback list a little later, but coming up next, Titans vets in danger of losing their roster spots to some of these new additions. We'll break it down. You're welcome to weigh in. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Trajan Wealth is here to help you accomplish your financial wellness goals, whether it's planning for retirement, whether it's just trying to get a handle on your day-to-day finances, whether you're somebody who's let that overwhelm you or just feels generally overwhelmed trying to do it yourself. They are there to help walk you through the process and give you sound advice on investments and your retirement planning strategy, because we have all dealt with some level of financial insecurity throughout the course of our lives, and you know how much stress that can bleed into every other aspect of it. It's something that everybody needs to avoid, and Trajan Wealth is here to help you through that process, just like they have helped so many other people across the country, and they can help you too here in Middle Tennessee. 2 locations, Brentwood and Franklin. Their number is 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000. Or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
What's going on? Just a hair before 11 o'clock. Good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Buccaneers have signed head coach Todd Bowles and general manager Jason Light to multi-year contract extensions. Todd Bowles enters his fourth year as the Bucs head coach after leading the team to three consecutive NFC South titles from 22 to 24. Light is currently the NFL's fifth longest tenured general manager, entering his 12th season as the team's GM. The NBA draft last night saw Cooper Flagg get selected number one overall by the Dallas Mavericks. This marks the first time in history that the ACC had a number one overall player selected in both the NBA and the NFL draft. The other time this happened with another conference managed the number one pick in both of the drafts came in 2005 when the Mountain West Conference saw Utah's Alex Smith go first in the NFL draft and Andrew Bogut from Utah also be taken number one in the NBA draft. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We're not too far away from Titans training camp. We're less than a month out. We're looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. The show will be out there again, broadcasting live basically every day. You guys have your open training camp practice dates. I believe that lottery opens up for you to enter on July the 9th ahead of training camp, and the report date is the 22nd, the first day of actual practice, the 23rd, which is open to fans. So looking forward to having football back in our lives. Looking forward to getting back out in the mix with you guys. Should be a lot of fun. But when we talk about the roster that is coming into training camp this year, there's a lot of new pieces and parts. More than half of the roster was turned over this offseason, either via the draft or free agency. They parted ways with a handful of players, acknowledging mistakes made by previous administrations. And they've gone about it in a way that they wanted to make sure they emphasized the level of discipline that they were bringing to the free agency process last year, not spending like drunk sailors, which is, they didn't accuse Rand and the people that were working under Rand Carthon at the time of doing that per se, but the fact that they keep emphasizing this disciplined approach to free agency means that the organization was not overwhelmingly thrilled with the way that they spread the money around last year. A lot of top-heavy contracts, a lot of long-term deals, a lot of guaranteed money, and that was certainly not going to be the case in 2025. So you work with what you got to work with, and you still have cap space to play with. Question I always, or the thing that I want to always remind people of is your cap space does not necessarily reflect your cash on hand. You have to be able to pay out these contracts to sign guys to deals. And so even if you do have that cap space, doesn't mean that your organization is that kind of cash flush. So I don't think they're in a position where you're going to see a lot of big moves in free agency and post-draft free agency beyond first in the waiver wire claim order. That helps a great deal, especially if you're looking to add special teams value, depth pieces at a variety of different positions. But there's a handful of vets on this team that I don't think are necessarily safe in their job, and that's a good thing. That's a part of the process every year. You're looking for guys who can replace the guys that are no longer good on your roster. And the Titans have been trying to get themselves out of that funk for a while. Now, even if they just slightly raise the floor, it's an improvement. You're looking for a lot of different pieces and parts to come together and actually form a team as opposed to just throwing everything into the mix the way they did in 2024, hoping Will Levis hits and that the rest of it would coalesce around him. Obviously, neither of those things really came to pass. So if I asked you, a Titans vet on the roster who's most in danger of losing their job this year, and really their roster spot, not just getting, relegated to a depth role, but ending up elsewhere or just flat out getting released, there's probably a couple of different names that come to mind. Josh Wiley is in a precarious position here, I think, with the state of the tight end room, though I don't know. It just depends on how they feel about David Martin Robinson versus a guy like Josh Wiley. I mean, Wiley, the best thing that he does is he can get in the back of the end zone. He can post up a dude because he's 6'7". But he wasn't super available, and he's not such a great player that he's not disposable. And DMR is somebody who they clearly value to some extent, enough to keep him around, enough to go heavy at the tight end position last year on their active roster, even though they didn't deploy all those guys or use all those guys on game day each and every week. Wiley is one that comes to mind here, somebody that maybe Titans fans had some kind of hopes for, but is already in the part of his career where he's probably going to get phased out.
Now, the thing he does have on his side is he has multiple years of team control left. 2 years back on his contract, one this year, another next year. That is what is against Chig in this same aspect, is Chig has one more year left on his deal, which would make him tradable. I don't know, not as acquirable, but he would be tradable from the Titans standpoint because they don't control his years anymore. And if they were going to do that, they would have to pay him to do so. So the only thing Wiley has on his side, other than his comfortability in the offense, being in it for the last year, would be that there is cheap team control in his favor.
There's going to be a lot of submissions for Treylon Burks. And the only thing that would stop me from agreeing with that is a dead cap hit of $4.572 million. You almost would have liked to, if you were them, and not this is how I would feel about it if I was them, not their feelings projected, but you would almost rather him not have come back as quickly from the ACL so that you could start him on the PUP and not have to occupy a roster spot with him that way. If you're going to have to eat the money, one way, the money's spent, right? It's a rookie deal. It's guaranteed money.
And if you PUP him now, and this may have been your point.
You could still, theoretically.
But if you PUP him now, he can't play. If you go on the PUP before, I believe, the first week of the season, your season is over with. You are forfeiting the entire season and your right to play. So they're probably, it wasn't so bad that they could do that, but it was also not good enough that he could be out there practicing. I think another position you could to look at for this would be the offensive line. How many people they've added off of waivers? Jalen Duncan and John Njoku are the two guys I'm looking at, which is a benefit. I think you've worked the waivers enough that you can get these guys that aren't NFL caliber players off of your roster. You don't have to hold them, so you have, like, I'm
just
using air quotes.
You need bodies of the position.
Right. You get rid of these guys that aren't NFL talents that you're hoping pan out. John Njoku, an undrafted free agent. Jalen Duncan, who had the measurables. The whole reason he got drafted in the 6th round is that he was very agile for his size. Well, it doesn't mean anything if you're a turnstile. Get these guys that aren't NFL quality off of your roster. And they've done a good job adding guys like Blake Hance, Udo, who's backing up the left tackle spot, Sam Mustipher, literally veterans at every position of the offensive line.
They have churned that and the off-ball linebacker spot more than any other. I mean, I don't need to relitigate the number of names at off-ball linebacker that they've been trying to churn through to find viable players at these positions. But this is something that they are in a window where they can start to move on from mistakes of regimes past. They can start to move on from the kind of players. They can just start to upgrade at a variety of different positions. And it doesn't mean that you're outright upgrading every starter. A lot of these starters may be the same. But again, it's about your depth. Your depth was also terrible. It's not just that the players that started were bad. Your roster depth has sucked because they've let it fall off a cliff. Years of mismanagement, things that you know. Nobody is more responsible for setting this franchise's future more on fire than John Robinson and his decisions in the last 3 years of his tenure, which is why I think it's crazy that people are putting him up there on television, but I don't need to get into reruns on that conversation either.
And getting rid of guys necessarily isn't the worst thing. Like, some of these guys just belong on the practice squad. Like, I know we're going to have a deeper conversation about wide receivers in the 20s, so I'll spare some of the details on this. But, like, Colton Dow and Jaquan Jackson probably aren't regular season roster guys on 85% of NFL teams. Like, they're supposed to be on your practice squad as emergency depths, as weekly call-ups. Maybe you need a returner. Maybe you need a gunner. Like, that's what their job is. That's what their position is. They shouldn't be on the roster, because if you're on the roster, you should be expected to contribute meaningfully, not contribute poorly.
One of these corners is going to have to go too. They've stacked a lot of different players at a couple of positions of weakness that we can't answer the L'Jarius Sneed question yet. That's still hanging in the balance until it's not. I'm looking for another. I'm just kind of scrolling the roster right now, seeing if there's one that would really surprise me or shock me. But it kind of falls in line with the strategy. It doesn't have to be surprising or shocking. It just has to accomplish the goal.
What would be shocking to me, but I could see a world where this happens if we're world building, if Daryl Baker Jr. regresses and Gabe Judy Lawley or the waiver edition of Amani Oruwariye. Is that how you say it?
You probably got closer than I would.
Yeah, you give it a shot. Go
ahead.
I'm
all right. You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, look up the phonetics. Go ahead real quick. If either of those guys come into camp and show something and Daryl Baker Jr. regresses, I think that's the line, right? After Daryl Baker, how many guys other than Marcus Harris, the draft pick out of Cal, are I sound like a seal there. Or who do you think would be the odd man out of that group?
Daryl Baker Jr. makes the most sense. There's no guaranteed money associated with him. There's no dead cap associated with him. You would save $1 million, a little north of $1 million on his base salary if you moved on from him, and you're clearly stacked the position room enough to where you can find another guy, because he was just a journeyman, practice squad guy from the Colts prior to him latching on here.
But he did play really well last year for
the circumstances. That is one of those things where I don't want people to talk themselves into LaShawn Sims. I don't know if you're familiar with the history of Titans corners, but the Titans in the last, certainly from John Robinson, I guess from the end of Rustin Webster through where we are now, they have always had one of these guys who makes you think just long enough or plays just enough football to make you think that he's more than he is. Ty Smith, LaShawn Sims, Kalen Reed, who I think is currently on their scouting staff. They've had a couple of these names where these guys have been forced into action and will make you just start to believe enough that they can play a more meaningful role until you put them out there. And then all of a sudden, Ty Smith is getting benched in a game after the first series because Ben Roethlisberger has identified his weaknesses and is just picking him apart, play after play.
The fun fact that we discovered on Primetime a couple nights ago, do you remember the last time the Titans had a Pro Bowl corner?
Oh, it's 2013, isn't it?
2013. He was a Buck. He was a Titan.
Oh, I went to his retirement press conference. I'm blanking on the name.
Altron Werner. It was the last time the Titans had a Pro Bowl corner.
I thought Malcolm Butler or Logan Ryan had one in there. Not one?
Maybe they were
an
alternate, an added player if somebody else backed out, but they
that was
were not
such
named.
A good defense in 2019. I can't believe one of them didn't get a Pro Bowl nod. I mean, they've been to Pro Bowls before, and they both have Super Bowl rings, so I guess they're not really worried about Pro Bowl nods. But either way, those are the kind of players that I think that they are looking to cycle out of. Now, another player who they re-signed, but the contract does not necessarily indicate to me that he's a long-term solution at anything, is Mike Brown. Mike Brown, who's a depth safety, who played in games for them last year due to injury. They've been chasing this Kevin Byard replacement. They're hoping that Kevin Winston Jr. is somebody who can play a meaningful role even if he's their third safety, and they've hedged their bets with Xavier Woods. If Mike Brown ends up being an odd roster math guy out, doesn't mean they can't practice squad him or bring him back at another point. Just because they're not on the initial roster doesn't mean that they can't be on the roster at some point in their careers. Mike Brown is another name that I think Titans fans were just starting to familiarize themselves with because he's been playing a decent amount of football.
Wouldn't it make sense to you, read it on air?
I don't know what that was.
Oh, yeah, that's what I would say, too.
No, I don't. I would honestly read it. I didn't get a notification.
Okay.
I mean, I got a notification, but I don't know where it went.
You could probably see a world where Mike Brown would start the season.
You want me to just read the top email in my email?
God, I hope it's bad.
Go ahead with your point.
So Mike Brown, you could see a world where he starts the season on the Titans roster while Kevin Winston is still healing, rehabbing, getting into the thick of things.
If he is, he may not be, but we don't know that just yet.
Right.
Giles says, I wouldn't be surprised in the YouTube comments, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Oh, another great name, Breon Borders. Yes, Breon Borders,
great
Titans
callback.
Legend.
I could do this all day.
Jackrabbit Jenkins, Janoris Jenkins had a hot second here, cup of coffee. Titans corners. That's the most fun exercise to do with a group of your buddies, is just pick an era of whatever team and just start naming players and see who could get the biggest reaction out of the player that you named.
What was the Tampa Dolphins corner? Was it Brent Grimes?
Yes.
Really small dude.
With,
his wife
Miko Grimes.
His wife would be on Twitter hammering people, dude. Take me back.
You and I did this for like an hour with Jags and Ravens players from like the early 2010s.
Well, I mean, yesterday we were like 14 minutes late to primetime because we were going back and forth with how many LSU players had signed with the Saints after their careers had
we
befuddled.
weren't late. You were doing that. I was waiting for you to start primetime.
Tyrann Mathieu, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
So, in the YouTube comments, Jael brings up, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Lockett got cut. Well, we can talk about the wide receivers because that's a theory I'm willing to entertain. You'll hear from Tyke Tolbert and who else do we have audio from? We have Nick Holtz. We will hear from the Titans offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach coming up next.
Hey guys, it's Lucas, and you know how much I love hanging out at Fog Street Lawn Club. And with this summer of soccer that's going on, Nashville SC, U.S. men's national team, the Club World Cup, there's always a great crowd gathered to watch those games at Fog Street Lawn Club. Tomorrow night, Nashville at 6:30, kicking off at New England Revolution. It's a road trip, so Nashville SC fans will be hanging out at Fog Street, taking in the game on that gorgeous rooftop, the best rooftop view of downtown Nashville. Also, tons of space downstairs, TVs everywhere. And don't forget their excellent menu with items like Reuben wonton rolls, the fish and chips, my personal favorite, the Irish whiskey burger. They've got great wings and plenty of other things as well. And also great drink specials for fans with a large drink selection. Happy hour, by the way, Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Get there a little early tomorrow for the Nashville SC game and enjoy some happy hour. Can play lawn bowling up on that rooftop, axe throwing right next door, and there's even a summer concert series coming up. Go to fogstreet.com for tickets, and make sure you come see us at 648 Fog Street, the only way to watch your favorite soccer teams play at Fog Street Lawn Club. It is 10:12 a.m., which means in just over 45 minutes, doors will be open at Hattie B's locations across Middle Tennessee. The Factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport, and now in Nissan Stadium coming up. With Titans games this year, you can get your Hattie B's famous hot chicken, a family-run restaurant that serves up your favorite Southern food and authentic Nashville hot chicken. Even if you don't like the spiciness of the chicken, it's just great fried chicken and the best sides in town, which if you're like me, are critically important. The Southern greens, my personal favorite, the pimento mac and cheese, you simply can't miss. Their fried chicken is hand-breaded, cooked to order. Add your spice level, hot or not, everything in between with your favorite piece of chicken, and top it off with some banana pudding or peach cobbler, which, by the way, you get a free dessert just by downloading the Hattie B's app, where you can order for pickup through the app, skip the line, walk in, get your Hattie B's famous hot chicken, head back to the office. You can also order for delivery. So download the Hattie B's app today. Head to HattieB.com for catering options, and I'll see you at Hattie B's.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Best hot chicken in the world, officially open. Any one of their Middle Tennessee locations for the day, 11 o'clock. You can get your order in now. You can go visit them on site. You can download the Hattie B's app and place your order mobily if that's how you prefer. How many wide receivers do you think the Titans are going to keep this year? Good problem to have. Got options. And not just like, oh, God, who are we going to field at wide receiver? What's the best version of this roster? No, there are legitimate questions that a lot of these guys have yet to answer, but at least as we talk about ways to support Cam Ward, they have made it a priority to, one, support him with the level of offensive line play in front of him, and to at least give him a baseline functioning skill group with a couple of pieces that can take you over the top in a really good two in Calvin Ridley, who for all intents and purposes is going to be your wide receiver one, and Tony Pollard, who had to do way too much through injury last year, did it anyway, and found a way to achieve career rushing statistics. So for the wide receiver room, all the different pieces and parts that they added, where you had Colton Dowell and Treylon Burks and Calvin Ridley already here, Jaquan Jackson, Mason Kinsey already here, but then the rest of it, you went all out in free agency and in the draft to make sure that you had as many options as humanly possible. The two UDFAs, you know, are TJ Sheffield and, of course, Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. In free agency, they pick up Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett and James Prochet. The two draft picks, Alec Iamaner and Chimere Dike. Now, if you look at like Our Lads, which is a good resource for NFL fans, whether you're looking at depth charts, whether you're looking at NCAA depth charts, NFL, they've got a lot of different good pieces of information. But I take issue with the way that they have the Titans depth chart stacked, because right now their starting wide receivers are Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson, and Tyler Lockett. Robert, as we talk about vets who may not make the initial 53-man roster, I don't know if there's a world. I could see a world where Tyler Lockett nor Van Jefferson are on this roster.
What would have to happen for that to be the reality for you? Would the rookies have to excel? Would Treylon Burks have to be healthy and contributing?
All of it. I think that would be an extreme for both of them who were signed this offseason to not end up on the initial roster. It would have to be, everything went well, plus Bryce Oliver looks like he's something, right? Like, it would have to be those two things plus. Because they obviously expect these two rookies to contribute right away. I think Iamaner's going to be a day one starter. It's probably way too early to say something like that, but it's hard for me to not look at him next to the rest of his competition and say, unless they're going to add another piece to this, which I don't know that they would. I don't know that they need to.
Just muddy the waters more, but they don't have a wide receiver that does what he does, that physical, large presence, somebody with a wide wingspan, good hands like that.
Contested catch type of player.
Right. They don't have a guy like that.
And Chimere Dike has a different skill set, but I could also see a world in which they decide, okay, Tyler Lockett may not be everything that we need him to be. He's a good locker room guy, which may buy him, more grace or help his case if he's a fringe roster guy and they're looking at, all right, who would actually help our young wide receivers get up and ready, who has NFL experience, who, if we put him into a game, could give us something. Harry Douglas as a Titan was that at the end. Now, Tyler Lockett has obviously had, I think, better career highs than Harry Douglas did when he went from Atlanta, where he was the 3, with Roddy White and Julio Jones, which is just a great collection of skill players at the time. But then Harry comes to Tennessee with that Mike Mularkey regime, and he's more of a role model, more of a coach in a room. He makes the active roster, but oh my God, who was that Broncos corner that was snatching chains off dudes? Aqib Talib. Like, the highlight of the Harry Douglas Titans experience was him kneecapping Aqib Talib in a game that they played here against the Broncos a couple years ago that absolutely should have gotten him ejected from a game. And, Harry, just a great locker room personality. Lockett could be the same, and that could mean that he makes the roster on a team that's still trying to get their things, the rest of their wide receiver room up and running that way. Restrepo, he's probably the biggest. I don't know. Restrepo feels like the one with the biggest room for variance, where he could end up not on the roster at all. He could end up, I don't think they would be able to get him on the practice squad because I think a team would come in here and scoop him up. Or he could make the active roster depending on what their slot options are.
I think the biggest thing working in his favor is, and if I would have thought progressively, I would have pulled this audio from John Fossil, but he noted the kind of player that Restrepo is and how he can be incorporated on special teams where he could potentially be a returner, but he also likes how he blocks and he could be a blocker in the return game. So that's kind of working in his favor where he may not be the defensive special teams player where you're a gunner running down trying to make a tackle, but he could be an offensive special teams player.
What are you eating? I can hear it.
What do you mean?
What are you eating?
Taco salad.
Mm-hmm. Try not to bring it to the microphone with you.
I don't think anyone else knew.
That's not true.
I think it was a pretty seamless transition.
Literally picking taco salad out of your teeth while giving football analysis. The numbers are weird here. Jaquan Jackson, probably out. They were fed up with him halfway through last season. That's one dude that they put their foot down on immediately as a rookie. They could not have been done faster with Jaquan Jackson. Maybe Nicholas Petit-Frere. But even NPF got more chances than Jaquan Jackson did after they decided that he was too big a liability to put back there on special teams. So the 6th round pick in 2024, Colton Dowell also feels like we're just kind of biding time here. And that's not his fault. He's a cool local story. 2023 7th round pick. Blew out his ACL, looked like he might be able to contribute on special teams, could still contribute on special teams. There's no reason that he can't wiggle his way into a roster spot there. James Prochet brought in here to at least give them some kind of competition as far as the returners go. That will be a spot that changes the math here. But I think DK and Iamane are going to play a lot more than people are expecting. Maybe you have that expectation of them anyway, but I mean, I don't know how reasonable. That's like saying Des Fitzpatrick should have played a bunch of snaps because he was a 4th round draft pick. Now, Des was obviously a different scenario, and Mike Vrabel was done with Des Fitzpatrick in training camp. Let me hear from Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach, on the versatility of the current wide receiver room that they are working with right now.
It's important because when you look at the rosters and how many guys on the roster and how many guys up for game day, and it's very limited guys, especially if they're not on special teams, you got to be able to say, okay, you can't be just an X or just a Z. You got to be able to be all of them because if somebody breaks a shoestring and goes out of the game, somebody has to go and be able to play that position, whether they've been practicing it all the time or not. So versatility, I think, is very key to our receiver position.
So that's Tyke Tolbert talking about them needing to have positional versatility because it's not like if Iamane ends up being, the primary guy opposite Ridley, it doesn't mean that he's exclusively going to start on the outside, right? Ideally, they'd like to be able to work him in the slot. They'd like to be able to split him out wide. They'd like to be able to do a variety of different things. They want all of these guys to know as many different elements of all 3 positions, all 3 wide receiver positions in their offense as you can, so that they can run a bunch of the same plays with different personnel sets and raise their level of expertise. I think it's better, and I think when you talk to coaches about this, they would say it's better to be more effective out of a small group of plays than it is to be kind of shaky across a bigger playbook. Like you want your bread and butter stuff, right? This is fairly common knowledge. Just lean on what you do best. If you can run a lot of the same plays with different personnel sets, or if you can run a lot of different plays out of similar personnel sets and give yourself variety without really having to spread yourself too thin, that's probably the best version of an offense. And so something that would be critical to that is these guys gaining a firm grasp on as many different responsibilities for the wide receivers as possible. It's the only reason that Nick Westbrook-Akina lasted as long as he did. because he can do a lot of different things, and he can do them well enough. And he's turned it into at least another opportunity in Miami, and we'll see what becomes of him there. So let's do some roster math. Give me a wide receiver, and I'll tell you whether I think they make the roster before we get to training camp.
TJ Sheffield.
Off.
James Prochet.
Off.
Mason Kinsey.
Initially off, but probably P squad. That seems like he's a cockroach. You can't get rid of him. He's yelling at me on the first day of OTAs just to make sure I knew he was still there.
Bryce Oliver.
I think he's in.
Really?
I think he's a backup outside wide receiver.
Because there's a little bit of crossover with a Umanor and what they both do.
Good. Make him the primary backup to Iamaner.
I don't hate that. Xavier Restrepo.
I'm going to leave him off.
For crunch reasons, you don't think he's going to make the... If he doesn't make the 53, I think we're both in agreement that...
He's going to get scooped.
And it could depend on the preseason. It could depend on other teams' roster crunch as well at wide receiver. But it would be tough for me. I mean, he didn't get drafted for a reason. Other teams obviously were scared off by something. But with a lack of investment, where the barrier of entry, the price cost to get in is low, I think a lot more people would be interested.
So, I mean, the players that they would have listed as slot guys are these 5 who could play in the slot. It'd be Lockett, Restrepo, and this is not in any particular order, though it may be the order. Lockett, Restrepo, Jaquan Jackson, Kinsey, and TJ Sheffield, who's the other UDFA this year. If I was to put Xavier Restrepo on the active roster, on the initial active roster, then to me, they would be carrying 7 wide receivers on the active roster, which they could do. They could do that initially and then work the roster math, work the practice squad math to make sure that they could find a way to get one of these guys through the initial waiver claim. I don't know. That's probably the one I'm most conflicted about. I just genuinely don't know what to do with him yet.
And
because if he establishes a clear and obvious role on special teams, he's in.
Can I tell you a secret? It's just between me and you, though.
Okay.
There's a way they could get him on the roster without having to put him on the practice squad, without having to subject him to waivers. What if Xavier Restrepo sustained a hangnail injury? Something happened to an eyelash, and they had to put him on injured reserve.
An eyelash, not even a lid?
No, just the lash. Just the lash. Maybe a lash got caught in his eye. And you had to put, we really wish Xavier Restrepo could be on the team this year, but we're going to have to put him on injured reserve. We're going to have to save him for next year. We're going to put him on ice. We're going to have to do him like, who's the Iceman in, why am I blanking on this? In Batman. What's Arnold's name? The bad guy?
Mr. Freeze?
Mr. Freeze. We're going to have to do him like Mr. Freeze's wife. We're going to have to put him in carbonics like Han Solo. We're going to have to put him in the deep.
Carbonics is not a word.
I can't remember what the hell they freeze him in. I think they froze him in carbon. Either way, they could slide him on injured reserve and be like, you know what? Like, it was going to be tough.
Yeah, but that costs him money.
Sure. Maybe he wants to play with Cam Ward. Maybe he wants to be here.
Yeah, but he's probably already taken less money to come play with Cam Ward.
Well,
that would be their leverage to get him here.
I'm just telling you, I've watched the Ravens do this time after time after time after time with, I'm
not saying it's impossible.
Sure.
I'm just saying,
I'm just telling you.
There are some hurdles here.
The backdoor scenario, like a 6th round. This generally happens with late round rookies that you're not able to keep, that you have to say, God, this guy really hurt his ankle. We're going to put him on injured reserve for the rest of the year. Like, that would be the backdoor way to get him or another wide receiver on the roster that you would not want to subject to waivers.
So I think it's Ridley, Iamaner, DK. I think Burks is here. I think Bryce Oliver is here. And if you ask me to pick between Tyler Lockett or Xavier Restrepo, I'd pick Tyler Lockett right now. So that's 6. If we went to 7, I'd say Restrepo. I want to not carbonite is what the chat is correct.
I was close.
Carbonics?
That's the study of carbonite. Everybody knows that.
Is it? What are you eating?
I'm not eating anything. I'm not eating anything. You're going to have our engineers mad at me like
I can
I'm in here
literally hear the taco salad in your mouth.
like I'm eating a taco salad over the board or something.
No,
How disrespectful would that be?
It's just ending up all over that microphone that other people have to use.
Oh, yeah. Okay, like our producers here are the
they're all
peak of
disgusting.
cleanliness.
They're all disgusting. Each and every one of them. Everybody who exists in that back room is disgusting. But those would be my 6 wide receivers. I would be willing to entertain 7 on the initial roster with Restrepo. So that would mean Jaquan Jackson, Mason Kinsey, TJ Sheffield, James Prochet, Colton Dow, out. Oh, and Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson's probably the wild card here. They have options at outside wide receiver. They don't have as many options for their slot. And that's where Tyke Tolbert said that they primarily see Tyler Lockett, even though he wasn't exclusively a slot guy in Seattle. This is Tyke Tolbert also talking about the wide receiver room as a whole, not just the versatility.
I like the versatility of all the players. Again, every time we install plays, we install the whole system, install it by concept. And those guys, especially the newer guys, have been able to catch on really fast and play multiple positions. So it's showing how smart they are, and so that's for everybody. I think the versatility of all the players is probably the best thing about this group.
Is that the biggest point of emphasis for them, the younger guys right now, just kind of figure out, all right, what makes the most sense, what can you do, what are your strengths versus how we're going to deploy you?
Yeah, I think right now they're just trying to learn everything. It's up to us as coaches to put them in the best position as far as where they fit into the system. So right now, everybody's learning everything, and as it gets going, we'll be able to determine, okay, this guy does this better, this guy does this better, so we'll be able to position it better that way.
So that's the wide receiver coach Tyke Tolbert talking about the roster.
We got an interesting question in the chat from Jael. If Restrepo, oh no, that was the wrong one. If there is some wide receivers that get cut off other teams that could potentially make this team, now I think that would muddy the waters too much. Like that would just be adding too many people, because if they're getting cut at the end of August. So it's not like you get an entire training camp to see if they fit, how they work out. You would be adding them sight unseen aside from what's on tape.
That's especially hard with wide receiver and a new quarterback. Like, you're just trying to get Cam as comfortable with the dudes that you got. Like, you want him to get as many reps with your guys. Doesn't mean that you can't add a wide receiver ever, but right now it's almost better for the quarterback to keep things as status quo as humanly possible. Because you just want him to develop chemistry with whomever is going to be out there. And if you pick up a guy after the first couple of preseason games, once the waiver process starts and once cuts start coming down, it just would take additional time to get that guy up to speed. For that player to have an impact, a legitimate impact, you would probably err on the side of caution and say, well, I'll take the guy that knows my system. A lot of complaining about Burks over Van Jefferson. Guys, I just told you, he's making $4.5 million. Could they cut him? Yes, they could cut him. It would cost them $4.5 million. They would have to really hate him to want to just eat $4.5 million. And again, I understand that they have cap space and they've already spent the money. So maybe it is worth it to them. I don't know the answer to this question. We'll find out here in the next couple of months. But they would have to be so done with Treylon Burks that they would be willing to eat $4.5 million on a team that is not really in the business of eating dead money right now.
Something that's not going to cost you much money. If you'd like to bowl with 3HL and other 104.5 The Zone patrons today.
Aren't you bowling?
I am bowling. People are going to see me out there throwing that thing down the lane. I'll have Cheyenne with me. Cheyenne is an exceptional bowler. Not as good as I am, though. And if you want to bowl with us, 6 to 8. Kings Bowling for our Split Happens Bowling Bash. 3HL will be there 3 to 6. And if you RSVP, I think there is still time for you to RSVP. You can go to 1045thezone.com. A couple of promotions they're running tonight. This may be able to tip the scale of you coming.
Me?
On Thursdays, they have bowling, burger, and beer for just $30. So it includes an hour of bowling alongside your choice of any burger and any draft beer. I know how much you love burgers and you love draft beer.
I do like cheeseburgers. That's like my one,
really?
That's my junk food weakness for sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Love a cheeseburger.
See, that is probably, if you were like, what food have you eaten the most in your life? Hundo P.
cheeseburger?
Yes. I have probably eaten more cheeseburgers than any other food, more than green beans, other than like rice. If you were like the number of rice you've had, it would pale in comparison to the number of
rice.
How many rice have you eaten today? Enough.
Yeah, no, cheeseburger for sure. That of all the foods that I try to avoid, so I don't get fat again. Tuesdays on my off day, we're for sure getting a cheeseburger. That's how it goes.
Tell the people what we're doing next.
We are. Oh no. Do I have to? You really gonna make me?
We're spinning that wheel, baby. Next.
If you are somebody that works from home, you know how easy it is for disruptions to happen and interrupt your workflow. Or worse, if you are at the house, your power goes out, you've got a bunch of food in the refrigerator, you think you're going to be able to preserve it, but the power just doesn't come back on because we have been dealing with all manner of adverse weather situations here in Middle Tennessee. Now there is no need to compromise with Mother Nature anymore. Consider owning a home generator from Premier Generators. It could be the smartest investment that you make. Let the experts at Premier Generators help you out. They know their craft inside and out and will ensure the best generator for your own unique needs. Premier Generators is the largest certified generator dealer in Tennessee, always offering a 10-year warranty on all of their generators. The consultation is free, so what are you waiting for? Contact them today at premiergenerators.com. That's premiergenerators.com or call them 615-439-2992. That's 615-439-2992. I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel like I have a choice. The wheel. I can't escape it. I got Ron Slay pestering me every time we spin the damn thing that the wheel needs to be a daily fixture. I'd rather take a drill bit to my temple.
Well, that's too bad. So the topics on the wheel today, Nashville SC, the ESPYs, and weekly positivity. 3 of Buck's favorite things to discuss. Would you like to do the honors, or do you want me to do it?
Spin the wheel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, ESPYs. Come on, ESPYs. Come on,
Anything but
ESPYs.
weekly positivity.
Nashville SC. Okay, to talk a little Nashville SC, we're going to welcome in one Lucas Panzica.
Whoa, what? What just happened?
Wait, how did he get here? You were just asleep in your bed.
Literally just in my bed. It just spawned in the studio.
You were just in Foxborough, Massachusetts. What the hell are you doing here? I thought I had a few more hours of peace.
Can never underestimate the power of the wheel.
So, okay, talk about your Nashville SC.
We have this discussion about which team in Nashville is closest to a title. Nashville SC is a lot closer to contention for a title than even the most optimistic Nashville fan would have thought at the beginning of the season.
That's really good last night. That was really good.
Man, trailing twice, they went down 1-0. They went down 2-1, and they just kind of kept chipping away, and they end up winning 3-2 at Gillette Stadium, a place they've never won before. By the way, not nearly as bad as you made it out to be, Gillette Stadium, in terms of the logistics and just the broadcast
Maybe that's just the
setup.
difference between an NFL game there and an MLS game there.
For
because
sure.
I'm telling you, Lucas, the stuff of nightmares every time I go to Foxborough.
Oh, I can imagine Patriot Place and the whole thing just being just packed to the gills and it being tough, especially for you like coming in and out and having to find your way there and everything. Logistically, it wasn't too tough. The broadcast vantage point was honestly fantastic,
Okay.
I must say.
See, the press box one sucks. Did you go in the press box?
I did go up to the press box.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Not a fan of any stadium that has the press box in a different location from the broadcast
This
booth.
is
but
such a
nobody else cares.
first-world broadcaster
Nobody cares.
issue.
Nobody cares. Sam Surridge hat trick yesterday, which he didn't find out about until 45 minutes after the game because he scores the first goal, a header before halftime. It's 1-1. Quickly, New England scores to go up 2-1. A minute later, Dan Levitz seemingly scores on a header that Sam got on the end on. He got a touch on it as it was going in, kind of robbed the goal a little bit from Levitz, but they gave the goal to Levitz in the game. And then after the fact, like well after the game was over, the MLS gods went back and ended up giving it to Sam Surridge. So he gets the hat trick. I was downstairs in the bowels of Gillette Stadium when Sam found out, when someone alerted him that, hey, you have a hat trick today. And the biggest grin came over his face. He couldn't wait to go tell Dan Levitz that he stole his goal. And Sam Surridge is now the leading scorer in Major League Soccer, 15 goals, and somehow he's not an MLS All-Star. But
they do have one, though, right?
Andy Nahar, the right back, 32 years old, having a career year, has just changed his games from that position. The biggest compliment that I could give to Nashville and B.J. Callahan, coming up on a calendar year of him being hired early July last year, is they're just doing everything he said they would do. All the cliches that you hear from coaches, right, that we're going to play to win every game on the road, which might sound obvious, but in MLS, there's plenty of teams that are very happy to go up to Gillette Stadium, to Soldier Field, to Austin, San Jose, wherever, and just get a draw, take a point, and put it in the pocket and come home. They play every single game going all out for 3 points. He said they would do that. He said they would play young players. They started a 17-year-old at center back last night. He said they'd be aggressive, proactive, play with the ball. They've done all of those things, and they're one of the most explosive teams in Major League Soccer. And they're sitting here in striking distance of the very top of the MLS standings where Philadelphia sits. Philadelphia comes to town, by the way, a week from Saturday at Geodis Park in what will be a massive game at the top of the Eastern Conference.
That'd be a good first one to go to of the season.
Be fun.
You want to go?
I'm down.
Spin the wheel.
All right, ESPYs and Weekly Positivity are left. If you missed it, Shane Gillis named the host of the ESPYs, and that's where we landed. Oh,
that felt premature.
Yeah, it was premature. We landed on Weekly Positivity.
Now it's starting to feel rigged.
No.
This is Buck's favorite.
No. I don't want this.
Be quiet, little baby bird. Take a deep breath in.
This is such a crappy version of the Calm app I pay for.
Yes. I can feel it seeping through my body. 528 megahertz of super positivity. Guys.
That's that monster you drank this morning.
I've had a terrible week. But all of that ends tonight when I get to show off my bowling prowess in Franklin, 6-8, and show everybody why I'm the best bowler in the whole station.
Cheyenne's better than you.
She doesn't work. Don't ruin my positivity. Also,
why? You ruined mine with this.
No, it's your turn now. Take that tone out of your voice.
I can't.
And put it. It's okay. Just easy. Unclench your jaw.
I can't.
Unclench it. I know you can't put wrinkles back in your forehead. You forcibly removed them. Lucas, show him how it's done. Can you tell me something positive?
You know, everyone's complaining lately about this heat.
Yes.
About this heat wave that has washed over the entire country, it seems.
Literally a heat dome.
Yes, Lord.
We're all going to die.
Nobody's happy about it. Everyone is whining and moaning about how sticky and hot and sweaty it is.
So sticky.
I love it. I love walking outside, feeling the sun just bathe my entire body from top to bottom. I stick my arms out. I look straight into it.
He's literally been walking around in a banana hammock for a week.
Straight into the sun.
Give him that vitamin D.
Said, yes. More.
Enrich my body.
86 degrees outside. It's too cold. More.
See, wasn't that nice, Buck?
Have you seen the amount of coaches from the Club World Cup bitching about the conditions in the U.S.?
That's hilarious because, like, their standard.
They said we can't train. That's 86 degrees.
It'll be 81 degrees, and a team from Germany or England is like, how do you people do this?
That's nice. Stronger than the rest of the world. Stronger
All right, fine.
than our...
My weekly positivity is that the Europeans can't handle the heat.
It still seems kind
Stay
of
out of the
negative.
kitchen.
Still seems...
Back-to-back World War champs, baby.
The European mind can't
Canada,
comprehend.
your next 51st state. We're coming for you.
Going for a three-peat.
Didn't have a MAGA pivot on the show today.
Are you claiming that we are a dynasty?
Going for a three-peat. Is winning if Inter Miami...
Didn't we?
If Inter Miami wins...
World War III lasted like an hour.
The U.S. men's national team feels pretty hopeless to win a World Cup ever.
They're not helpful.
I know the women's team has done it, but if Inter Miami goes on to win the Club World Cup and shock the planet, it's already shocking that they're in the knockout rounds. Can we count that as a World War III victory?
Yes.
It would be more vindicating than, just shelling Iran.
Yes, we can. And that's been weekly positivity.
All right, spin the damn wheel. Get rid of this elevator music.
Dude,
Enough.
that was nice. I enjoyed that.
That was cleansing.
Spin the wheel.
It's just Shane Gillis left. The Semantics. Shane Gillis hosting the ESPYs. Buck, you're not very happy with this.
No, it's not that I'm not happy with it. It's just I don't think they're going to let him be him. It's network television. He can't do a Shane Gillis stand-up set on network TV. That's why they keep letting Kimmel do it.
But it's live, right?
Yes.
To me, he seems like the guy to go rogue. Because, So what's the chance that Shane Gillis...
This is the reason they don't let these people do that anymore. Norm Macdonald made fun of John Elway's teeth a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden the athletes didn't know how to deal with it.
That's exactly what I thought of. Norm's monologue at the ESPYs is legendary, and it was still somewhat fresh off OJ stuff, and Norm was known to crack an OJ joke or two.
But Norm doesn't have to do it again.
Rest
the
in
same
peace.
way. I didn't mean it that way, but the same way Shane Gillis doesn't. All he has to do is host it once, and he'll have clips that live forever.
And they're not going to pull him off mid-broadcast.
Yeah.
Although seriously, some of the stuff that's in Shane Gillis's routine,
right,
would be cause to pull him.
Like he gets up there and he's like, Super Bowl champion Eagles are here. Eagles, appreciate all the Georgia Bulldogs not crashing on the way over here. I feel like
I can see that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But that's not what I'm referencing.
Sure, I'm not funny. He's funny. He's gonna make it funny boy. I think it will be good because he will get his licks in.
I just started watching that tire show, by the way.
It's terrible. It's a good sleep show.
It's very mindless. I don't have to pay attention to it, and every once in a while I'll catch a funny joke. I'm like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
It's an Adam Sandler friend cash grab. He's getting all his friends paid by Netflix.
That's fine.
You can't ask for anything else.
I don't fault him for that at all.
If it wasn't Shane Gillis, I prompted you this morning with non-sports people hosting. How funny if it was Doja Cat hosting the ESPYs. Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg.
That would be the best. That's my favorite.
You have my attention with that
That's
one.
my favorite. I'm such a Martha Stewart fan at this point. Did you watch that documentary on her?
Oh, yeah. She's a badass.
She's a badass. And it was, happened, much of it, her becoming a billionaire was during our lifetime, but still, I wasn't really cognizant of that way. That's a cold-blooded killer.
When are the ESPYs?
I don't know. I haven't watched the ESPYs on her.
No, I'm just kidding. No, they're not.
That used to be appointment television for me.
I remember in even as recently as, I don't know, college, I felt like the ESPYs was still something we watched. And I don't know. There's nothing about it that's appointment viewing, but I feel this way about a lot of award shows. Like
July 16th.
Were you guys ever Oscars people or
Yes.
or Grammys?
Or the Music Choice Awards, or literally any of them. I think they all used to be good, and now it's just become so trash.
It's just like the performances that they work into the award shows are still good. Like, I still want to see some of the musical acts that they put out at the Grammys and stuff like that, some of the collabs that they do, but I can catch that on social media. I don't need to, sit through everything else.
If Chris Rock getting the crap slapped out of him isn't going to help, like, if they would have that every year, like random celebrities.
And even that, most people caught on social media.
Or like the BET Awards where they were throwing chairs that one year. I'm here for the messy. I'm here for the messy, and we've gotten away from the initial message. Yes, the ESPYs will be fantastic with Shane Gillis. This has been a really good segment. This has been The Wheel.
You didn't even get Lucas to smirk with wheelie good segment.
No, I'm smiling.
He's tired.
I am tired.
Let him be.
All right, you don't have to do this final hour with us, right? You have things to do?
I have to get my brain in order because I'm hanging out with Blaine from 1 to 3 today. We've got Andy Staples at 1:20.
Fun.
So hope folks will stay and hang out.
You can do that from 1 to 3 today and tomorrow, right?
That's correct.
Are you pulling double duty tomorrow?
I'll pull double duty tomorrow.
What fantastic
Why not?
news.
Look at that.
Team
All right.
player.
Nate Tice has a controversial top 10 quarterback list. There's 2 of them from the AFC South. Find out who next. This is not a good tease.
What's going on? Noon o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Buccaneers signing head coach Todd Bowles and general manager Jason Light to a multi-year contract extension. Bowles entering his fourth year as the Bucs head coach after leading the team to 3 consecutive NFC South titles from 22 to 24. Light is currently the NFL's 5th longest tenured traditional general manager, entering the 12th season as the team's general manager. The NBA draft last night saw Cooper Flagg get selected number 1 overall by the Dallas Mavericks. This marks the first time in history that the ACC had the number 1 overall player selected in both the NBA and the NFL draft. The only other time this happened was when a conference managed to have both number 1 picks selected was the Mountain West, with Alex Smith going number 1 overall in the NFL draft and Andrew Bogut going number 1 overall in the NBA draft. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We are in full swing when it comes to list season, and Nate Tice has decided to bother the internet today with his top 10 quarterback list in 2025. Welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you. Robert and me until 1 o'clock today, 615-737-1045. We'll get to your phone calls here in just a second. Maybe they're related to quarterback rankings in the NFL. Maybe they're related to what we're going to get to a little later on, which is Cam Ward's first real, what we're calling a homework game. You're going to hear from Greg Cosell a little later on, some analysis, some insights, some good football talk. Football 301 is the name of Nate Tice's podcast, and that's where these rankings came out of. Yahoo Sports then co-opted them because there's some things to pick at. If I told you 2 AFC South quarterbacks ended up in the top 10, you would probably be surprised that I said 2, because the only one I think that registers in any kind of ranking nationally is C.J. Stroud. And even C.J. Stroud, that might be a bit premature. We saw him have one of the best rookie seasons that a quarterback has ever had. We saw him slip pretty substantially in 2024, but there were a couple of factors there. You can also attribute things to the idea of defensive coordinators and defenses catching up to him and making it more difficult. They also played a significantly more difficult schedule in 2024 than they did in his rookie season. The top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2025 season, this according to Nate Tice, who played the position, son of Mike Tice, the former head coach and offensive line coach, now doing analysis for Yahoo, and Nate occasionally appears on the show. We'll have to touch base with him. I'm going to send him a text. Anytime he makes a list, he has to do the radio show, so it's kind of a punishment this time of year. Top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2025 season: Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert at 5, Matt Stafford at 6, Jordan Love at 7, Dak Prescott 8, Trevor Lawrence 9, C.J. Stroud 10. So not only is Trevor Lawrence on this list, but Nate Tice believes that he is a better quarterback entering this season than C.J. Stroud. There are a couple of things that could make that so. There's a world in which Trevor Lawrence ends up being the best quarterback in the division this year if Liam Cohen's able to get him right. If I gave you guys the option, and I can't remember if we played this game on the radio show or on primetime here in the last couple of weeks, but if I gave you all 4 AFC South quarterbacks in one draft class, Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Cam Ward. You all are Titans fans, the vast majority of you. I bet less than 10% of you would pick Cam Ward if you had the opportunity when they were coming out of college to pick either of the other 2. Now, your opinion of Trevor Lawrence may be colored by his last couple of years, and that's fair. But if they were college prospects coming out at the same time, easy for me to say. What are you looking back at? Looking at back there? You were barking like a seal earlier.
You know what I'm looking back at, baby.
What, Lucas?
Yes. He's back here showing it off.
I know, he's still in the studio eating his taco bowl. He won't even go in the other room to do that.
I don't disagree with you, though. I was having a conversation in the YouTube chat earlier in the show when people were bringing this Nate Tice conversation up that they couldn't believe that Trevor Lawrence was higher than Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. But if you look at the supporting cast...
Purdy, I'm good with. Purdy, Purdy doesn't work in 31 other NFL systems. I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
I mean, when you have that good of a supporting cast, that good of a coaching staff, I'm willing to hear Tice's argument if you're talking flat quarterback play. I know Trevor Lawrence wasn't exceptional last year, but I could listen to the argument.
So there is a world in which Liam Cohen gets him to the point where he can be the best quarterback in the division and then be the kind of quarterback that he was supposed to be when he was drafted number 1 overall by the Jags in 2021. Dak Prescott is probably the biggest issue that I have here. You ever looked at his numbers next to Tony Romo's? They're basically having the same career.
Really? I haven't.
Crazy. Given the circumstance, because Romo retired after Dak's rookie year, after he lost the job, because Tony had that back issue that he was dealing with at the end there, hung it up afterwards. Their numbers are strikingly similar. Their playoff success is strikingly similar. Dak Prescott is basically new age Tony Romo. Now, Tony, I think Tony Romo was a more talented player than Dak Prescott is. At his best, I don't know that that's really much of a question.
You want to hear something crazy? What's the best passing year Tony Romo's ever had?
What was the year him and Peyton were trading touchdown passes? Like, I don't know. It was a basketball score by the end of that Broncos-Cowboys game.
4,903 yards. What's Dak Prescott's best year?
4,903 is Tony?
4,902 is Dak Prescott.
I'm telling you. They're basically the same players statistically.
1 yard.
1 yard difference in their best passing year. So, I don't know. Was Tony Romo the 8th best quarterback at any given point when he was still playing? Probably. But I just don't think Dak is that. Jalen Hurts belongs on this list. That's my biggest issue. Now, their passing success, what did we talk about earlier in the show when we talked about the Pro Football Focus, how they stacked rosters up against one another? And they described the Eagles as having the best roster, but their biggest weakness during the regular season last year being the passing game. They were not perfect. And he has way cleaner pockets than the vast majority of quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia has been blessed. And he's also a badass and works his butt off and has been a winner at every level. Every time you doubt Jalen Hurts, he finds ways to exceed, and now he's a Super Bowl champion. Should that alone be enough to put him on this list? Probably not, because there are other guys who are more talented than Jalen Hurts. He was a second-round pick for a reason. Dak was a third-round pick, fourth-round pick coming out of Mississippi State. It's been a couple years, fourth. Herbert is the biggest underachiever on this list. I take that back. I go back and forth between Trevor Lawrence being the biggest underachiever and Justin Herbert. But Herbert by the end of the day is going to be one of these box score stuffers, I think, that we all had way higher expectations of than he's actually able to accomplish. He doesn't, in the biggest moments, he has not put them over the top, even though he is supremely talented. He made in a lab for what you want the quarterback position to be able to do, be able to operate. He's highly gifted, but it just hasn't translated. Now, because he hasn't done it yet, doesn't mean that he will never be able to do it. I can't possibly answer that question. But there's no conversation in which he belongs. Matt Stafford has been a better quarterback, even though Matt Stafford is 37 years old and aging. Matt Stafford is a better quarterback, a better player at the position, a better winner than Justin Herbert is. Now, we can ask Nate to come on the show next week and have him clarify some of this stuff because, full disclosure, I haven't had the opportunity to listen to the podcast in full yet this morning. I caught about the first 30 minutes. So he works his way through the bottom of the list. Is there a bigger issue on here, though, than Herbert or Prescott?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Herbert, to me, he's always had an ancillary excuse. Whether it's, he has a bonehead for a head coach, like when his head coach blew it against the Raiders and they could have ended up going. But
Lucas's boy, Staley.
He's had excuses. They don't have enough receivers. They're too hurt. Everyone else, you deal with these issues every year. I'm tired of the excuses. He is a media darling. And it's funny because there's no reason for him to be a media darling because they have no fans. Who is it a benefit if we talk about prompting people? He's just troll baiting us. Like, what is the bait to liking Herbert that much?
Are we still doing that bit? Where the Chargers don't actually have fans? They don't people don't go to their games.
They have fans, but no one goes to their games. How many Chargers fans do you know? I know one, and he is one of the most annoying children I've ever met.
I don't know a single one, but I saw Mitch Firkins lose a chest bump match to one in a parking lot a couple of years ago.
That was a great video. Hope
the great one's doing well. He has a kid on the way.
He does have a kid on the way and a new tattoo on the way.
No, did you see what happened? He got scammed. Some woman took his money for a Cam Ward portrait on his back and then did not follow through on the tattoo.
So what'd she do? Do it in Sharpie?
What can you hear louder? Lucas's chewing or Lucas's off mic laughter?
I heard that cute little giggle.
Laughing at the pain of Mitch Firkins. I don't know. Like, relative, what is the popular opinion on Trevor Lawrence? Is that he is the biggest current underachiever in football?
I think you would have more people agree with you than disagree with you.
Because he's got the contract now, because he's been in the league for a period of time, because of how heralded he was coming out of college.
Exactly. His draft status, the pomp and circumstance surrounding him being the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Like, I feel like a lot of that.
I still think that was true.
I don't.
But it just doesn't mean anything once you get to this level.
Right.
Like, it can be a thing. It can be true coming out of college, and then you get to the NFL, and your coach is Urban Meyer. And so everything that you might have, your unrealized potential, you get hamstrung right out of the gate because your coach is credit carding co-eds at a bar and won't fly home with the team after what do they play, the Bengals on Thursday Night Football or something like that, where he decided he was going to take his own path home. It's nonsense. Trevor Lawrence hitting, though, is probably the biggest issue for everybody in the AFC South. If that becomes a thing, if Liam Cohen is able to do with Trevor Lawrence what he did with Baker Mayfield, what he did in college with Will Levis, if he's able to work some level of quarterback magic here and find a way to maximize that guy's potential, then the rest of the division is kind of banged, because then I think C.J. Stroud is playing catch-up. Texans still have a better football team. Texans are still the best football team in the division, or at least they should be. Jags, though, I don't know. I feel like we've put them to the side for so long that I think there's a portion of people that have just put Trevor Lawrence in a box that they don't think he's going to be able to get out of. And I don't know that I would bet against him. At least not this year, anyway. 615-737-1045. You can jump in on the conversation if you want. We'll get to Greg Cosell's analysis on Cam Ward's first homework game coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So there's a new episode of The Install out. We're previewing divisions right now. We're also working in some Titans insights and analysis, and this one was fortunate because the Titans play the entirety of the AFC West this year, so it was easy for Greg to talk about it without fully previewing these games. Of course, the Titans are at Denver week 1. That is where Cam Ward will make his NFL regular season debut, and Greg is dubbing it a quote-unquote homework game for Cam Ward, and explains in this audio, which is a portion of today's podcast, which is available both in audio and video form.
It will be available in video form slightly after this audio gets done playing.
Interesting.
Podcast is available.
Okay. Greg Cosell on Cam Ward and the homework game that is the Denver Broncos. Denver is a really interesting place to start. Every time I look at their defense, Greg, it's tough for me to not be just generally impressed. They're well coached. They've got great personnel. They obviously led the league in sacks last year, and they've got the reigning defensive player of the year. It's tough to say a bad thing about Denver's defense.
No, and you know what? I'm kind of glad, Buck, that you started with their defense, because obviously everybody immediately thinks Sean Payton, Bo Nix. But, you know, they led the NFL in sacks a year ago. They're a really good defense with a lot of really interesting personnel, maybe players that are not well known nationally, but very, very, like Nick Benito. You know, it's funny. I remember doing him coming out of Oklahoma. He came out in 2022. And I really loved him as a pass rusher. And, you know, he was a little light, and I knew it would take a little time, but he just had that bend, that flexibility, that suddenness, that explosiveness. And then all of a sudden, in his third year, this past year, he really becomes a dominant player. And along with Jonathan Cooper, another really good player, who was a 7th-round pick, by the way. So, you know, they've become a really, really good defense. Vance Joseph has been in the league a long time. It'll be, we'll do a lot more of this when we get close to the season, but this will be a fascinating test for this sort of new Titans offense, obviously with Cam Ward and a totally revamped O-line, because this is a really good group, and they're very good in the secondary as well.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary, the rich get richer in this particular situation with the first-round pick there coming in Jahdae Barron out of Texas. And obviously with everything that they've got up front, I wonder, Greg, how you view the role that they have for Surtain. We think that Jahdae Barron is going to be their starting nickel, right? Their starting slot.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I would think because I think Riley Moss will stay on the outside. He was a little up and down last year, but I think he'll be a good player. We know about Surtain. They brought in Hufanga from the 49ers. And, you know, another player who I've always really liked, and he played really well for them, is Brandon Jones. He's the other safety. He'll be the other safety with Hufanga. They're really good on the back end. And Jahdae Barron, he's kind of an attitude swagger player, and I felt like the slot was going to be his best role in the league, and he was drafted, in my view, to be their slot corner.
Yeah, they lose Cody Barton to the Titans, but they replace him with Dre Greenlaw, who's been a good player, just has had some injuries in his career coming in here. I guess from a deployment standpoint, Greg, and what you know that Vance Joseph likes to do based on the coaching tree that he comes from, this is a complicated defense to play. And I wonder what are some hallmarks for the audience who's going to be, especially here in Nashville, paying close attention to the Broncos as we get closer and closer. We're really not that far away from week 1 at this point.
No, and we'll get more into that when we're, leading up to the season. But, Vance Joseph is very good with pressure schemes. So that's something that'll be a really big deal for an O-line that obviously has much better players for Tennessee. But until you really work together in games, it's different. And every coach will tell you that. I mean, they finish the offseason program. They'll go through training camp. We know Bill Callahan will be working really hard to get them prepared. He's been in the league a long time. He knows Vance Joseph really well, but still they put tremendous stress on you mentally. That's the key thing. The Titans will be better physically on the O-line, but it's mentally when you play a team like the Broncos week 1, That's a homework game, Buck. That's a game where you really have to study all their pressure concepts, everything they do out of base. What do they do out of nickel? What do they do out of dime? That's where it really comes down. And one player we didn't mention who's a great player, but probably, again, not as well known nationally as many, is Zach Allen. He's a defensive lineman who plays multiple spots along their defensive front, depending on personnel on the field. But, as I said, this is a homework game. You really have to study and understand what you're seeing before the ball snapped.
That is Greg Cosell on this week's episode of The Install, breaking down the Titans and the Broncos in what he is describing as Cam Ward's first homework game. So the level of preparation, and of course, this is the most amount of time that he's going to have to prepare for any one single game throughout the course of his rookie year. Denver's a really good one for him to a really good litmus test to see, all right, how much of the mental stuff can he, and as Greg said there, the offensive line, pick up right away. It's just as big a test for the offensive line, if not a bigger test for the offensive line than it is for Cam Ward. I love that it comes against a quality opponent. I know Titans fans, some may be conflicted about the idea of opening up where you'd like a little smoother entry into the NFL. It's week 2 at home against the Rams. It's not like it gets much smoother. They are going to be as ferocious as Denver's defense is, and Cam Ward is going to have to be as prepared. How he fares versus Denver's defense, and then when you see him in week 2 at home against Los Angeles, going to be fascinating to see how he handles the situation. Going to be a great test of the coaching staff to see how many more answers they can give him beyond what the players are able to independently create within the structure of the scheme. Denard Wilson has talked about this, how they can make up for personnel deficiencies as a coaching staff, and that they didn't do a very good job with that last year, which I think is a pretty diplomatic way to describe the Titans' 2024 coaching and playing experience. Some comments from the F&M Bank chat where you can live stream the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also call us, 615-737-1045. D-Tag on YouTube says, maybe it's the week 1 weirdness, but I can see the Titans winning. Knocktrop on YouTube says, we've got a decent chance as long as there are no surrender Cobras in the game. Mike Bell adds that Cody Barton has all the Denver answers. Well, of course, they're going to know that. And that can be an advantage. Cody Barton talked about Cam Ward, seeing Cam Ward come up in the early goings and what he saw last year from Bo Nix as a rookie. When we did the interview with him, I guess that would have been the last week of OTAs before minicamp started. And I thought Cody really articulated well what makes Denver so viable and what is going to give Cam Ward a chance to succeed as well. The things about Bo Nix and Cam Ward that are comparable. Bo Nix also went to a system fit and a coaching fit where that coach had pinpointed, all right, Bo Nix is the guy. I know that I'm going to be able to make this thing work. I know that he may not be the most physically talented player. Many other people may have a second-round grade on him. I don't care. We're drafting him 12th overall. He's my quarterback. I can do this. And they did it collectively. I think Bo Nix, it's a really good episode with Greg. He got into a lot of details on what allowed Bo Nix to succeed versus the things that we thought might hurt Bo Nix as a pro. We got into the Chiefs offense as well, how they're going to make some adjustments this year with some help on the offensive line and adding Jalen Royals to that wide receiver group. And Robert, we can do the most interesting storyline in the AFC West here since we've been doing that in every division on the radio show anyway, as a topic tree. I don't know that there's a bigger science experiment offense than Chip Kelly in Vegas. What do you associate Chip Kelly with when it comes to offensive tendencies? It's been a while since he's been in the league. Maybe you weren't paying attention to what he was doing at Cal. You probably watched his offense at some point at Ohio State, and he had 3, professional wide receivers out there helping a quarterback who also was a draft pick.
He likes to use speed, a lot of high variance plays, a lot of mixtures, a lot of try to get mismatches on defense, a lot of gadget plays.
But he likes to run the ball.
Sure.
Volume running was a huge part of the Chip Kelly experience. The San Francisco Chip Kelly head coaching stint, which I think lasted a year, maybe 2.
I think it was Jim Tom Sula for a singular year and then Chip Kelly for a singular year.
It didn't work in San Francisco. In Philadelphia, though, I mean, that's how the Titans got DeMarco Murray. For some reason, they signed Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray that same season, looked around and said, well, this doesn't really make a lot of sense from a roster construction standpoint, the amount of money, the amount of investment that they poured into just the running back position alone. But there was an emphasis on running the football there. So the Titans were able to do a deal. That was John Robinson's first big deal. Got DeMarco Murray over from Philly. Ended up getting Dennis Kelly as well. Got rid of DGB. And DeMarco Murray ended up leading the AFC in rushing that year. Chip Kelly, though, wants to run the football. Ashton Genty and Chip Kelly are kind of a match made in heaven. Is it just a cop-out to say the Chiefs are the most interesting storyline in the division, though?
Yeah, I do think it is because of what is going on in all the other teams around there. To me, the Chiefs are kind of stagnant.
But that in and of itself is interesting because they were kind of stagnant last year and they still got to the Super Bowl.
I would say it's a lack of interest on my part because they are trying to deal with the same issues that they have been dealing with for the last 3 years.
And because you hate them.
And because I hate them. Trying to figure out left tackle and broadly the offensive line. They had a couple of changes sending what was the cat's name they sent to Chicago?
Thuney? Tooney?
Joe Thuney or Tooney, however you want to, Joe Tunchi. Adding left tackles in free agency last year, trying to figure it out. Their wide receiver with Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown, both healthy, back in the fold. DeAndre Hopkins out. It just seems like they're just such a blah. We know they're going to be good team. I think everyone else in this division is on the precipice of being tangibly good. You could say, sure, the Broncos had a good defense last year, but it's they could be Super Bowl contenders. The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, what they're building with the skill positions and phasing out older parts of their defense, bringing in younger pieces. I find the Chargers infinitely more fascinating than the Chiefs. Just because this is the second year of Jim Harbaugh's mold, him adding a Marion Hampton. Last year.
Who I love.
They had a good run game last year with the Ravens light, right? J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and drafting Kamani Vidal. But now they've got their bell cow, the guy that selected by Jim Harbaugh. You know you're going to run him into the ground. Probably, aside from Ashton Genty, Cam Ward's biggest opposition for Rookie of the Year.
He's the favorite.
Marion Hampton is.
No. Genty.
Genty is. That makes a lot of sense, though. But see, I think Marion Hampton could win it because neither the Raiders nor the Titans have proven that they're an actually good team. How often do Rookie of the Years win Rookie of the Year on a bad team?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. So if the Chargers go 11-6 again, make it to the playoffs,
Damn. I
could see a world where Marion Hampton wins Rookie of the Year.
See, it's funny because the Chargers are the thing that's changed the least, but that's the team that most people are looking around and be like, all right, can you actually threaten the Chiefs? Where the Chiefs have never looked more vulnerable than they do right now. You've got a shot at them. Go take it. Certainly that's going to be Jim Harbaugh's call to action. Let's just go take it from them. Herbert being this, I don't know, that he is. I would want Justin Herbert on my football team, but he would also piss me off if he was on my football team because I know that player should be so much more than he is currently. I don't know if it's not Kansas City though. They're adding, they've taken steps with Kingsley Suamataia, a former tackle that they've pushed into guard, and Josh Simmons in the first round that they're praying to the football gods can be a week one starting left tackle right away. And Jalen Royals, they are also, Greg had this stat on the podcast today, and not to leave everything for the podcast, but it's one of the reasons why you should be listening to Cosell's analysis. Patrick Mahomes, what do you think his completion percentage was on passes 20 yards or more down the field last year?
60%.
26%.
Oh, woof.
26%. They don't have explosive plays anymore.
And it's worth noting they didn't have Hollywood Brown through.
Darnold is like 56%.
Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, that
Sure.
makes a lot of sense. But they missed Hollywood and Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice after week one, Hollywood the majority of the regular season. They had DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce, who are very much elder statesmen.
And they were using D-Hop as they were going to D-Hop on the deep targets, which is just not who he is. He's still, DeAndre Hopkins seems to really enjoy when people doubt him on social media so that he can react to it, which is fine. Hop's welcome to do that, of course. And he's still a reasonably high-level player. But, like, DeAndre Hopkins has a skill set. He's always had a strength. And being the deep ball guy, I mean, you can toss it up to him. He's still got the catch radius. But, like, that's not the best use. That's not the most efficient use of DeAndre Hopkins. So how Kansas City rebounds, made a lot of personnel changes on defense. Christian Fulton is now one of their starting outside corners. He's been in the league for, 5 years, going on 6? This is his third team. Talented enough as a former second-round pick for teams to take a chance on him, but I don't know that this isn't a critical year for Christian Fulton's long-term viability. His last real opportunity to make, like, big corner money in the NFL. The Chargers, I guess I kind of like brush off a little bit because there's just not a lot of change there, but maybe that's what makes them the most intriguing.
Would you say this is the biggest threat everyone in the AFC West has been to the Chiefs since Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Like Denver's defense, the Chargers, I don't know, lack of options to just be other than being like a grind your nose football team. And the Raiders with the leadership of Pete Carroll, I still think that's the floundering team in this division.
Yeah, they're probably the most likely fourth place finisher.
But still scrappy. If you'll remember the year that the Chiefs came back and won the Super Bowl, the loss that spurned that turn for them was the late loss in the season of the Raiders, where Max Crosby was just eating Patrick Mahomes alive, and Travis Kelce had that passionate plea to the locker room, like, we can't do this. We can't play like this.
Yeah. Was that the one where was Gruden still the coach?
I don't believe so. I believe it was
one where he took like a literal victory lap around Arrowhead after the Raiders beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
What's the guy's name? I believe he's the Giants defensive coordinator now, but he got to have a 1 year run at it last year. God,
Antonio Pierce?
Antonio Pierce. I've been blanking on names.
No, he's not the Giants DC.
Where's he at?
Shane Bowen is the Giants DC.
You're right.
Titans legend. I don't know if Antonio
That's where
Pierce,
he played at. Let me check.
He was
on
a
that.
player there. Yeah. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get in. And again, that's the thing that makes the Chiefs interesting here. They were that poor offensively. They lacked explosive plays that way. Like as many as we're used to them seeing. Defenses have clearly adjusted. Mahomes' protection was not the same. His skill player group has been worse in past years, but it's certainly been better. They have missed Tyreek Hill more than they probably thought they would, and they can still get to the Super Bowl anyway, which makes them a constant presence in all of our lives. The Titans play the Chiefs at home this year. That is going to be a fun game. It's just a lot of good opportunities to see what Cam Ward is actually made of. The Raiders, Geno Smith, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Jack, is it Besh or Beck?
Besh,
I
think.
Cosell said Beck today, and I wasn't sure if that was right.
I'll look at the
phonetics. The TCU wide receiver that they drafted in the second round. That has the potential to be like a weird, fun offense. And I don't know if the Chiefs not run away with the division. They haven't been running away with anything as of late because the Chargers are a markedly improved team, and Denver is kind of, they had 3 teams make the playoffs out of that group last year. Is Denver the one that falls back to earth, though? That feels like a tough thing for them to sustain defensively. I'm not saying they're going to be a bad defense, but like, if you had to look at one statistical area, turnovers are a big thing year over year, where you see teams lead the league in turnovers. You assume they're going to be able to do that again. And I hit the wrong button. Don't laugh. My bad. But
it is Besh, by the way.
Besh, okay. The Broncos in their defense feel like at least in some of these statistical categories where they were leading the league in sacks last year, I think that there's some wiggle room, and it's a really tough thing. It's easier to sustain offense year over year than it is defense. Quantifiably, and it just takes a bigger toll. Also, they were healthy. That's the thing that none of us can predict that has such a huge impact on how these seasons are going to play out. Last call for phone calls if you got them. We'll wrap up the show. We'll update some polls. We'll get you out of here. What?
Did you do the polls?
I did the polls.
Okay, cool. The chat was assuming you didn't.
No, I did them during the first commercial break. Narcs. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you're like so many other guys who get to a certain point of your life and you just start feeling like different. You start feeling tired. You start having low energy. Performance issues pop up, and solutions exist. These things don't have to be inevitable. That's what the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you with. They don't do guesswork. They make it happen. Real science, real treatments, no gimmicks, no online quick fixes that just leave you frustrated. Online pills are too expensive and generic to just not work. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, their medical providers build a plan around you, your body, your goals, and what it takes to get you back to feeling like yourself again. Testosterone, ED treatments, stuff most guys don't even know exists. Have you seen all the different things out there that they've been promoting as far as their campaign, the Stanley the Cowboy ads that you've heard running on 104.5 The Zone? This local team loves to have fun, but they are experts when it comes to treatment. So call them today if you want to get an appointment. The website is TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. The number is easy, 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Last segment for the day. There is a piece up on ESPN.com by Aaron Schatz. Is he still doing his own thing? So he's doing his fantasy football website where he's doing all the DVOA stuff, but he's still working for ESPN too, I guess.
I'm not familiar with Aaron Schatz.
I don't think that's true. He's the one who came up with DVOA. Football Outsiders?
He was on with 3HL at the Super Bowl. Big bearded guy.
Yes.
Kind of looks like, is it Mark Rubin? Who is the big producer that helps people? Like, did you ever watch the show Dave with Lil Dicky?
No, I never watched Dave.
It was Mark Rubin comes and helps Dave get his album in order.
No, it's not Mark Rubin, but I can't think of it. Are you talking about the super famous music producer?
Yes, huge beard.
He doesn't wear shoes. Yeah. Oh, this is going to drive me insane. The chat will pick it up at some point. But it is proposing one final offseason move for all 32 teams. Now, we said
Rick
Rubin.
Rick Rubin.
That feels like it should be pretty easy for us to get. You could have said that into the microphone. You're sitting in here. You have a microphone in front of your face. I said Benny Blanco.
The kind of guy that doesn't wear shoes.
God, that is one of the most unfortunately ugly, and speaking as one of the most unfortunately ugly human beings on the planet, Benny Blanco and I could have a celebrity death match of who is more unsightly. Because
I think he wins.
He has Selena Gomez.
He looks like he does have Selena Gomez, but he also has more money than me.
Like I told you, you're not ugly. You're just poor.
Right.
You know?
At least he's ugly and rich.
Yeah.
He looks like, do you guys remember the commercials where like a green, like Mike Wazowski looking thing would be the toe jam in the commercial? And he's like, there's no way they're going to get me out of here. Doesn't he look like the human embodiment of a sneeze?
Yeah.
Like
Mucinex was it?
Mucinex, yeah.
Mucinex. Like,
Mucinex
I'm going to
commercials
make
like
myself at home. Like he looks like a Mucinex monster.
Yeah, turns out you can be rich and look like a Mucinex monster and still get the girl.
Nah, Selena Gomez is just butthurt she didn't end up with JB. I think that she
I don't know. Are you sure? That
is,
looks like I don't know how closely you follow that relationship, but that seems like it's a bit toxic.
Well, I still think you could be looking out the window and being like, damn, I wish he was being mean to me.
Also, Justin Bieber is just having a hard time out there publicly, it seems like.
I feel bad for anybody who is born and had to sustain that kind of pressure growing up.
Look at Amanda Bynes. Oh my God, it makes me so sad.
That was the saddest thing, man. The saddest video. And it just, and honestly, jump scary too, because it's like how far she came from, what was her movie? Kick Like a Man? No, it was a soccer movie.
Oh, where she was
Bend It Like Beckham? Is that it?
No, it wasn't Bend It Like Beckham, was it? Where she's pretending to be a male soccer player?
Yes. Yeah. I can't remember. This is why we need you.
She's the man.
She's the man.
Why we need you on the show, Lucas.
What are you doing in here?
Waiting.
Hate it for him.
All right. So one final offseason move for all 32 teams. Should we save the Titans one for tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
But you should tell me what the Ravens is.
The Ravens extend Lamar Jackson.
Yes, which is even more difficult with this collusion conversation coming out, which was like the headline piece of Mike Florio's article that came out that spawned all of this, Wednesday? Tuesday or
Wednesday.
The upcoming extension that's going to have to be done.
Did you just fight off a burp?
God, you are the dissector of human linguistics because no one else.
I can hear it in your chest.
I was fighting for my life. No one else heard that.
I couldn't
Can't even remember what the hell we were talking
literally
about.
the entire. If I can hear it,
I should just let it out. I'm tired of holding it. Anyway, it is increasingly more difficult because this fully guaranteed contract stuff is coming back up, which I don't think owners would like to see, but they also don't have as much power to fight it because they're under a microscope.
So Eric DaCosta, their general manager, said that they're in the, quote, introductory stages of an extension conversation. So I guess
me and Cheyenne are too. We're in the introductory conversation of an extension. Yeah, what does that mean, Eric? What does that mean, Eric?
I feel like more people should probably do their marriages that way, given the divorce rate. Like, you should probably just operate on an extension basis. Like, let's do this for a 5-year term.
Ooh.
And let's see how things go. And then in a contract year, you pick it up a little bit. Maybe you start looking me in the eyes again when we're intimate and things like that. Maybe you just make it seem like it feels a little bit more. And then one side can determine whether the other is worth an extension or not.
Well, it's kind of like that now. If you get divorced, it's just like having your wife signed a void years, where you're just going to have to continue to pay their salary, even though they don't work for you
It's
anymore.
exhausting. See, I started work is a big reason why I don't go to a lot of weddings, but like some of these people, like I'm looking at it on the front end being like, you guys aren't going to make it. I'll see you on your second marriage.
Yeah, I'll come for the second one when you guys have more money.
Yeah,
And an
yeah,
open
like when
bar.
you're actual people as opposed to broke and getting married out of necessity in college.
Right.
Dumb. 615-737-1045. Well, I guess it's the end of the show. We're not doing phone calls. But
Yeah, if you called in now, it's too bad.
yeah, it's too late.
We hate you.
I don't hate you. He might hate you because he has to field your phone calls. Polls.
This one's scary.
Imagine Rhett's face while he's making these voices.
Oh, The polls brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealership in all of the South. How many wide receivers do the Titans keep? I thought this was a pretty good conversation, especially because you rabbled the rouses by saying that Tyler Lockett could potentially be cut. Do you still feel the same way even after being shamed for your position?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, if the money was greater, there would be less of a chance that he ends up not on the roster. If they like their options in the slot and Tyler Lockett doesn't need to be a part of the plan, I think that the rookies are supposed to make guys like that disposable.
We only had one submission that I thought was egregious. Ryan Scott with 8. I don't think they keep 8 wide receivers. I think that would be tough to do.
7 on the initial. But, I didn't think how many tight ends? They kept like 5 tight ends on the first roster last year, and they basically kept them all year long.
I think it was 5. Which Titans vet is in the most danger of losing their roster spot? We got a number of submissions for this. Eldon English with probably every Titans fan. Will Levis. A lot of Chig in here. A lot of Burks in here.
They're not going to get rid of Chig.
A lot of Snead in here. I don't think they get rid of Snead either. And one Arden Key, which I don't think... It's like, I'm really tired of carrying these nickels around, even though I'm poor. Like, you have to keep the nickels. Sorry.
He said nickels.
Do you think I said nipples? Whose draft night experience was more disrespectful, Cam Ward or Cooper Flagg? If you missed it, Cooper Flagg last night, they were saying, look at the number 1 overall pick. This is illustrious. And they showed a picture of Ace Bailey.
That's right.
Live at the draft instead of Cooper Flagg.
Also, ESPN, stop putting Stephen A. on everything. He doesn't need to be on the draft coverage, too. He just doesn't. I get you trying to get you $20 million. Enough. Please, God. We're going to have enough of him when he's our president in a couple of years. But it's gratuitous.
Cam Ward or Cooper Flagg, notoriously, our audience is made up of a lot of Titans fans. The Titans fans made their opinion heard. 91% say Cam Ward's night was more disrespectful than Cooper Flagg's.
Dramatic.
And the poll you did not tweet, I assume because you didn't like it. Who would be the ideal ESPYs host?
Oh, I forgot about it.
Who would your pick be? You can pick anybody.
Ideal ESPYs host?
Dead or alive. How about that? Dead or alive. Anybody you want.
Oh, well, then it'd be Norm. Bring back Norm.
I think Richard Pryor would do a fantastic job.
I don't think I've watched Richard Pryor stand up.
You need to.
I probably
tonight.
Do. Tonight?
Tonight.
Okay.
You have to. Have you seen, if you don't want to watch a stand-up, like maybe stand-up's not your thing, have you seen Harlem Nights? I got a girl so good you could throw it up in the sky.
Like, I know who Richard
sunshine.
Pryor is, but like he's far enough out of our age range that that's one that I haven't sought out.
You need to get that, Brewster's Million, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. But his comedy, exceptional. If you listen to Sirius at all, which you shouldn't because you have an exceptional radio right here on your dial, they play a lot of his stuff on Raw, which is very good. And those are the polls.
All right, very good.
We can spin the wheel one more time if you want.
No, I don't want to.
Are you sure?
Do I have a choice?
Yeah, you got a choice.
No wheel.
Okay, that's cool.
Bowling tonight.
Will Buck show up? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, 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 yes. No.
See you on primetime at 7.